And one. What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast. I am your host, Sports PSP. Hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic Friday coming off work, school, whatever the case may be. I got my panel with me. I got BRF Sports. How you doing, my brother?
I can't complain. Life's going pretty good. Another productive week of work. I got one more day tomorrow, but before I get to that, I want to go on the weekend right with my two homies with this new edition of the podcast. I'm ready to talk about. There's some stuff going on. I'm ready to get into it and talk about it, man. How y'all brothers living, man? Life's going good over here.
Can't complain. Can't complain. Can't complain at all. We're doing well. We're doing good, man. You know, God is good. That's all I can say. God is good. Despite all the problems that is going on in this world, hey, look, God is always good. So as long as God is on your side, you'll be just fine. So that's
Mm-hmm.
all I can say about that. And of course, we can't do the Sports PSP podcast without my main man, four-time college degree, former military man, diehard Atlanta Falcons fan, the young Charles Barkley, as I sometimes call him. He's funny, affable, doesn't take himself too seriously, loves to joke around, loves to give people a good time, and brilliant. Undisputed world champ. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Hell of an introduction as usual. But look, we ain't talking about me today. We talking about the 100K man right now. 100K followers, man.
I saw your little
Yeah.
platinum plat. I saw your little platinum plat, big baller. I see you. I see you.
Yeah, man. 100 and yes, show the people what you got. There we go. Talk
Better
your
flaunt
stuff
that bad
today.
boy.
Talk your stuff today. You deserve
Flaunt
it,
that
bro.
bad boy. Let them know. Let them
All
know.
right, all right. As you all know, Sports PSP podcast has now reached over 100,000 subscribers. I am truthfully grateful, honored, blessed. I worked my ass off just to get to this point. I want to thank a lot of people along the way, of course, Champ and BRF. Shout out to Brandon from the block. He was the one who actually introduced us to the group chat. So if it were not for Brandon from the block, I wouldn't meet the other great content creators like Broad Sports, Certified Chris, Mario Knows Best, Casual. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Mama PSP, best mama out there in New Jersey. Thank you for everything. Thank you to Dulce, Angie, Maddie, Kaylin, D. By the way, Champ, D is still getting on you for that Lamar Odom video that we did about a month ago. But love you, D. But I'm just blessed, man. And 100,000, we accomplished a new goal. Now it's time for bigger and better things. Now let's just continue to do whatever we can to make sure that the Sports PSP podcast, because I said you never know, we're gonna hit 100. We may hit 1,000,000. You never know if we're gonna hit 1,000,000. But we're gonna do whatever we can, man, to put on the show. We're gonna continue to do everything we can for the Sports PSP podcast. I am just honored, grateful, blessed. Like I said, I love doing podcasts. I love doing this type of stuff. I found my niche. I found my calling. This is it for me. And I'm just going to capitalize on what God gave me. And the best way to give God the favor is just capitalize the gifts that He gave me. And that's it, man. So that's all I'm going to do, man. I will definitely celebrate. Got me my Angry Orchard. And we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to have a good time. And we're going to put a hell of a show on the Sports PSP pod. Fellas, before we talk about the NBA playoffs, Greg Popovich, it's official. He's moved on from the head coach. He's now taking the full-time position for team office. Correct me if I'm wrong, Champ. I have no problem with it. Pop has done his thing as a head coach. I mean, 5-time champion. I mean, look at the great players that he's had to work with, that he's coached, learned the game. You look at his coaching tree from Ime Udoka, Mike Budenholzer, Mike Brown, Becky Hammon, PJ Carlismo. Greg Popovich is responsible for a lot of the San Antonio Spurs success. And I'm happy for him. I think, in my opinion, he's the greatest head coach. Some people could argue Phil Jackson because of the 11 championships, but you can't argue, but you can't go wrong with Pop, especially how the way the game is played nowadays. So what are your thoughts, champ?
Greatest coach of all time is Greg Popovich. He built that team from the ground up and reassembled it every single year. And he won in 3 different decades. Won in 1999 on the heels of the Jordan and the Bulls dynasty. Won in 1999, beat the Knicks. Won in the early 2000s with Shaq and Kobe dominating in the early 2000s. Beat LeBron James. Beat the Bad Boy Pistons Part 2 with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace. Chauncey Billups. Beat that team. One of the greatest defensive teams of all time. Beat the Heatles. Beat the Heatles. LeBron James. I mean, you beat the Heatles and not just beat them up. I mean, you were on a roll. For the last 20 years, leading up into some recent years, every year the San Antonio Spurs have been in the playoffs. Every year. It was rare that they wasn't in the playoffs. And ironically, life comes full circle. He's going back to where he started, in the front office. A lot of people don't remember this. He started off as the general manager of the San Antonio Spurs, then fired the coach and became the coach himself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just life going full circle. So, and I don't blame him for going back into the front office and them letting him come back into the front office. The thing is, look, he's had a lot of health problems. He's had some difficulties in his in the last few months, had a reoccurrence of his health issues. So, hey, I'm so happy that he's well now. He's going to be transitioning into the front office. And like I said, those players that he helped brought in, when you talk about somebody being ahead of their time, the San Antonio Spurs were light years away ahead of the NBA and where it is right now. They were one of the first team to bring in the overseas and European players, the Manu Ginobili's, the Patty Mills,
Tony Parker's, Marco Bellinelli's.
Yeah, I think Tiago Splitter, wasn't he another overseas player?
Yes, Tiago Splitter. Yes.
Yeah. He was.
I'm sorry. I just laugh when you bring up Tiago Splitter because I remember the first take days with Skip and Stephen A. with Tiago Splitter. But yes, Chip, to your point, he is responsible for bringing a lot of international players there, particularly with Manu Ginobili. And people forgot Manu Ginobili. He won the gold medal back in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Against the Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
This led to the Redeem team being born years later. So the San Antonio Spurs were light years ahead of their time in bringing in these overseas players, showcasing them, showing what they can do. I mean, and ironically, right about now, they have an overseas player in Victor Wembanyama as the cornerstone of their franchise. He's the cornerstone. So they were whereas the NBA is catching up right now, they were so ahead of their time with bringing in a lot of the overseas and European players. So big ups to Greg Popovich, R.C. Buford, and that organization, who was the model organization for the NBA for the longest time, and did it without a lot of big name free agents. I think the biggest free agent they ever attracted was LaMarcus Aldridge when they brought him in. But
yes.
They brought him in, and he was able to give a bunch of productive years before his unfortunate departure from the organization and retirement due to some health issues. But the San Antonio Spurs credit R.C. Buford and the greatest coach of all time, Greg Popovich, for bringing those players to the light. Because yes, we had before, we saw the Sabonises before, we saw the Tony Kukos before, but they were utilizing them in ways that led to what we do today in the NBA. So big ups to Greg Popovich, R.C. Buford, and that organization. His life coming full circle and him being the greatest coach of all time. And people will say Phil Jackson, But I will say this. Phil was the coach that I feel like you brought in to finish the job. If you really look at those Chicago Bulls teams, he was brought in to finish the job. That team was already assembled. When you look at the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, he was there to finish the job. When you think about the only team I can truly say, okay, he stuck around for the building of that team was with my Lakers in the late 2000s. He stuck around and built that team when they brought him back. But the first 9 titles, you brought him in to finish the job. So I got to say, in modern day times, Greg Popovich is the greatest coach of all time because he was the master, not only coaching great players, but developing great players. So big ups to Greg Popovich, R.C. Buford, in that organization.
Not just that, champ, but also, too, I'm surprised you didn't mention this. And you should know this better than anybody. Greg Popovich comes from a military background as well as yourself. Yes. And the one thing he teaches is discipline. And I love the fact with Pop. And Pop, he's great. Especially he's consistent. He's adamant. He doesn't take no bull from anybody. And he's going to tell you exactly how he feels. And I think with San Antonio, they're still going to be in good hands. They're still going to be in good hands. People have forgotten that Popovich was in the front office. So I think for San Antonio, listen, as long as he has, and he does have leverage, and he does have the respect, the admiration from the organization, so he's going to be just fine. As for the Spurs moving forward with the head coach, only time will tell. Do I believe that Popovich, because of his health, his attrition, came in and kicked in? Yes. But I think this is going to be good for him to take a front office role. He's still going to be involved. His word is going to mean everything to San Antonio. So I love it. And I think he's going to be, and he's always going to be revered, not just in San Antonio, but in NBA. And what made it so unique is that watch the Spurs play basketball, how they move the basketball, how you see so many ball movement, team spacing, stuff like that. That's the type of basketball that you want to see. So, BRF, what are your thoughts?
When you think about who's the greatest NBA coach of all time, you want to you look at kind of like the era that coach was in. Whether you're talking about a Red Auerbach with the '60s Celtics, when you look at a Phil Jackson with those '90s Bulls, and then those Lakers of the early 2000s and the late 2000s, and the late 2000s, early 2010s. When you like the Pat Rileys of the world, even if you want to throw in like some other modern coaches like a Eric Spoelstra, who's just kind of silently built himself up into having like a Hall of Fame resume as a head coach. Greg Popovich really just, I feel like, stands out because of what Champ said. When I think of Greg Popovich, if you want to look at another sport and you want to think about an equivalency, I don't think there should be another name when you think of Bill Belichick. It's Bill Belichick. When you think about a coach from another sport who's kind of got an equivalency as far as like how they run things and how they operated things and how they were able to. A lot of similarities with Greg Popovich and Bill Belichick. Salary cap driven league, being able to adapt, tons of turnover, not always necessarily having the same roster, but keeping your core there. Whether it was like Belichick with those Patriots defenses of the first 3 championships, but then able to adapt and was able to, being able to keep that defensive mentality, but having some really, really good some elite offenses to go with it. And then Greg Popovich with, having his core, whether it was Tim Duncan and David Robinson, the Twin Towers, winning the first two chips, and then ultimately building around, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Bruce Bowen, Patty Mills, even having Boris Diaw there, just being able to really identify, the talent that works best with the scheme that he was running. The offense, the ball movement, never staying still. incorporating everyone, not necessarily having like one just standout superstar guy, even though Tim Duncan, is the greatest power forward of all time. But being able to incorporate, when Tim Duncan started getting old and started kind of losing a little bit, oh, okay, there we go. There's Tony Parker. Tony Parker comes in, he can kind of become more of the focal point, him and Manu. Because Manu Ginobili, people sleep on Manu Ginobili, whether he was starting or whether he's coming off the bench. You can make a case he's arguably the greatest sixth man of all time. Just what he gave to those San Antonio Spurs teams, those mid 2000s, going into the late 2000s, and then going into the early 2010s and those battles that they had with the Miami Heat. Just so many things that Greg Popovich was able to adapt, but yet still be able to make work. And I feel like a lot of people consider him the greatest coach of all time. I consider him the greatest coach of all time when I think about the era that he was in and his ability to just be able to still adapt and still be able to win, even with a revolving door roster and with his roster, but yet being able to understand, I still got my core guys. I still got Tim Duncan. I still got Manu Ginobili. I still got Tony Parker. But it was about making it work with the guy, with his role players and those guys around him, whether it be a Bruce Bowen or heck, early Kawhi Leonard in his career, just being able to understand what worked and making it work and allowing those rosters to be cohesive and grow with each other and yet be one of the more dominant dynasties the NBA has ever seen, maybe even sports has ever seen. But they did it in a way that wasn't flashy. They did it in a way it wasn't flashy. It wasn't like rah, look at us. It was about, no, we're going to bring on lunch boxes. We're going to go to work. We're going to get the job done. We're going to clock in. We're going to clock out. We're going to go home. And that's what they did. And it brought them 5 championships. So I look at his ability to adapt with these times. I think when you look at it that way, a lot of these other coaches, they had like ridiculous rosters, like the Red Auerbach Celtics. You had John Havlicek and the Bill Russells of the world. Those teams that were just better than everybody else. I mean, you pretty much had all of the elite guys on one roster, and then in the Phil Jackson Bulls, you got Mike, you got Scotty, but it was almost like those two as a duo really kind of just set themselves apart from everybody else, especially come playoff time, because when it's time to get it done, you weren't gonna beat them. So it was just the way Greg Popovich did it with those Spurs squads and being able to just really cultivate a culture that was just second to none. I mean, and now I feel like with him retiring, and deservedly so, if anybody deserves to go out on his shield, it is Greg Popovich with the career he's had. But being able to leave this roster in the surprising shape it's in, I mean, Victor Wembanyama, who might be the brightest young star in the NBA, 7'3", 7'4", with his skill set, like rarity beyond belief. His scoring went up, his scoring ability went up. Obviously, his defense is amazing. I mean, he's the best shot blocker in the league. I mean, he's 7'4". I mean, what you gonna do with him? But having a Devin Vassell, having a Stephon Castle, who just won NBA Rookie of the Year, and deservedly so. So I mean, he's got a young core of guys there. And I feel like a guy like Greg Popovich, I want to see what he does going back into the front office and how he's able to readapt, being back in that scene again. What is he going to do to try to make the San Antonio Spurs an elite level team again, a playoff team again? I'm interested to see what they do in the offseason, because Greg Popovich, his cachet, his reputation, just him being who he is, a guy like him, just don't be surprised if they get into the bidding wars for some of these bigger named superstars. Like, I'm gonna give y'all a vision, and I just want to see the look on your face when I give you this vision. Imagine an NBA world where Victor Wembanyama and Giannis Antetokounmpo are on the same squad.
That's nasty.
That's very nasty. And don't think for 1 second Greg Popovich ain't gonna be like, you know what? I kind of want to speed the process up. Let's see what we can do. You just never know. But I feel like I've always loved him as a coach. It's like it was nothing he couldn't do as a coach. He didn't treat anybody no different from anybody else, and I feel like that was one of the main things why so many players respected him. There was no like real singling out talent. It's like if you're on his squad, you're gonna get the same respect. If you're the biggest name on the squad or if you're the 15th guy on the roster, it didn't matter. He showed everybody the same level of respect. And I think that's why a lot of these players idolize him and respect him and wanted to play for him because they know at the end of the day, he's going to demand a lot. But if you give it to him, he's going to go to battle for you. He's going to run through a wall for you just like you will ultimately do for him. So that's why I think that's why the leagues have such an admiration for Greg Popovich, and he deserves it. He deserves it. He is a man of integrity. He's a man that demands respect. He's a man of integrity. Like y'all said, man, military background. He was raised in a house and just a culture of just understanding discipline and respect and just knowing what it took to get the job done. And that's Greg Popovich in a nutshell. So if anybody deserves to go out like this, is him. He's had the health problems, and hopefully he's getting himself together and getting himself right because he deserves to get away from coaching.
If he could pull a Jerry West, what Jerry West is doing, like what Jerry West, Russell Soul used to do back in those days in Golden State with the front office, that adds even more to his legacy.
Exactly. I feel like if there's any coach out there that can get back into the front office and basically just do the damn thing, make it work, and be successful at it, it's Greg Popovich because he still has a good understanding of basketball. He still has a good understanding of talent, and I'm excited to see where it goes with him being back in the front office. But shout out to him. He's my GOAT NBA coach. So respect, just all the respect to him. He deserves to go out on his shield. He deserves this, and I'm happy for him, and I'm excited to see what happens for him in the future back in that front office. I want to see what he's capable of doing being back up in there. So shout out to Greg Popovich. You most definitely deserve this, sir.
Absolutely. Let's get into the NBA playoffs, man. Before I talk about champs Lakers, let's talk about the New York Knicks. I told y'all the Knicks Pistons, that was going to be one hell of a series.
Ooh, that was amazing.
Jalen Brunson had the game. I mean, he hit that crossover and then that three to end the game. The Knicks advanced to the conference semifinals. They now face the Boston Celtics, the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. This was going to be an interesting series. What are your thoughts so far with the playoffs, guys? Because just that series, and then we'll talk about champs Lakers in a second. Because I
don't know. I'll start. I've been very pleased with what I've seen from the NBA playoffs so far. Even the series that were like one-sided had really exciting moments, had really exciting game, had really exciting basketball. Like going back to that Grizzlies Thunder series. Yeah, did the Thunder sweep a 4-0? Absolutely. But when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies losing the way they did in game 1, to come back and just, even though they didn't win a game, really take it to Oklahoma City. Like one of those, you do feel kind of bad for them because one of those games, they had basically a 30-point lead. And OKC, game 3, they had a 30-point lead. I think it was 26 going into the half.
And OKC, Ja Morant got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that took the life out of them for the rest of that series because after Ja got hurt, OKC just did what OKC does. They locked in defensively, the way they play offense, ball movement, being able to shoot the 3, and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just doing what he does. Man, OKC is going to be a force. Yeah, man. You and me, PFP, we both said it. we were both the most excited about that New York Knicks Detroit Pistons series. And even though it didn't go to full 7, that series lived up to everything we thought it was going to be built up to be. Shout out to Cade Cunningham. He's arrived, almost averaging a triple-double for this series. He showed up and showed out, even though the Pistons lost. And Jalen Brunson in Game 6 showed y'all why he won the Clutch Player of the Year award. This brother is insane. To go out and drop 40 in a Game 6 and to hit the dagger to ice the series. Let me tell you something. If Jalen Brunson leads the New York Knicks to an NBA title, they could build a statue of him next season. They got to already be revering this man for the way he's been playing with that New York logo on his jersey. They haven't. I don't think they've seen a player like this in New York that's been this clutch and these bigger moments. You might have to go back to like the early 90s Knicks, like with Derek Harper and John Starks, when you want to think about guys that could actually, making big shots and that were capable of making shots in the clutch like that. But to have a guy like, man, Jalen Brunson just really, I understand they brought Cat in, but Jalen Brunson is the unquestioned heart and soul of the squad. Where he go, they go. I don't think there's any other doubts about it. This Rockets Warriors series, I'm excited to kind of see how this is going to go. I know the Warriors are up 3-2, Game 6 in Golden State. I think that just getting started. I think right now the way the playoffs are going, we ain't gonna talk about the Lakers yet. We're gonna save the Lakers for the next segment. But I will say this though. Boston and Cleveland are scary. They are scary. Oklahoma City is scary. Don't be shocked if the LA Clippers come back and put Denver out. I think at this point right now, the Clippers are the best. I think they're better. I think they're the better squad. I think they're playing with more momentum. They're playing with more intensity. They look like they're playing like they want it more. I think the Clippers are going to take this Game 7 and they're going to put the Nuggets out. But I will say one quick word about that series. Shout out to Anthony Edwards. This man is a legend hunter. I mean, let's just say it for what it's worth. Anthony Edwards is a legend hunter, and we need if you want to call him the Randy Orton of the NBA, the legend killer. I'm cool with it because I think that's what he's going to set himself up to be if he keeps doing this. I mean, to do what he did, for him to do what he did against those Lakers when not a soul alive gave Minnesota a chance to win the series.
Whoa, wait a minute. We can't disregard what happened to Rudy Gobert. Yeah. He was beasting last night.
Let's save it. We got to say that for the next segment. Because I've had thoughts on this all week about the Lakers letting Rudy Gobert, their worst offensive player on the starting five, go 27 and 24 in a Game 5 on their floor. That makes it worse. He did it in LA when the Lakers needed the game. And Rudy Gobert we were saying it when the playoffs started. If the Lakers were gonna go 4, they were gonna have to find a way to disguise the fact that their interior play, particularly their center play, is mediocre at best. But it showed itself in the first round, and it was ultimately their Achilles heel, and it bit them. And that's why the Lakers are having to download the Babbel app on their phone and learn Spanish.
Well, they're already in Cancun right now, and so far, Dallas Mavericks, Nico Harrison is like, thank God, they already bounced out in the first round. Now y'all ain't got to say any more things about me anymore.
Oh no, Nico. Just because the Lakers got put out in the first round, oh no, you still deserve this smoke, sir.
Oh wait a minute, still deserve this smoke. It wasn't all his fault. Let's keep in mind ownership, though.
I agree. Oh, we can't. Oh, do we? We definitely can't let him. We can't let him off. We can't let them off the hook either. But yeah, if he think for a second, just because the Lakers got put out in the first round, we gonna just say, maybe him and the Mavericks front office on or something. Oh no, you still getting this smoke because y'all still shouldn't. I don't know what y'all. I still don't know what y'all were thinking. So now you look at the Lakers now and it's like, man, when LeBron retires, you got 77 just right there, like the luxury of going from arguably the greatest NBA player of all time to a guy in Luka Doncic who's probably unquestioned a top 3 player in the world. Like the Lakers can't keep getting away with this.
But BRF, this is what happened. They were going to struggle when they got reneged that Mark Williams trade.
Ooh, boy, did that bite him.
A big man.
They
need a center. They need somebody come off season, whether draft or free agency. Because if you're telling me Jackson Hayes is the answer, then I'm sorry. We're really asking, what are we doing ourselves? Undisputed world champ. You know what? Let's talk about your Lakers. The floor is yours. I know you're sick. You probably had 2-3 burgers the other night after that Lakers loss. Probably went to Daiquiris and Po' Boys. I don't blame you. I heard they got some good food over there. I read the website from Google. You went through a lot of hell. I hope Mama Champ had to do everything to comfort you.
Hold on, I gotta before Champ go, I gotta get it out. And I gotta get it out. In honor of my boy Shannon Sharp, I gotta get it out. Because we were feeling hardy and we threw a party, but the Lakers showed up kind of tardy. And they got sent home at 5.
I'm starting to believe more and more Shannon Sharp jinxed the Lakers.
Look, just gonna be real. The better team was the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's as simple as that. Everybody, I think we like to put more so into it than it really is. Minnesota was the better team. They had the better interior defense. They had I don't think that Luka wasn't in good a shape as he needed to be. I think that transition from Dallas to LA was still kind of on him at a certain point, although he was playing good at certain times during the season. But yeah, I mean, hey, look, just gonna be real. Anthony Edwards is that dude. Where's Anthony Edwards from? UGA. So, hey man, down South Georgia boys, we gonna always take that swagger with us and that cockiness and that confidence and that
bravado.
That bravado and that trash talking every single one. And what I like about Anthony Edwards, it's a control bravado. You know, it's basketball related. You can really much relate to him. It's old school. It's Reggie Miller. It's Larry Bird. It's Magic Johnson. It's Michael Jordan. So I love to see that. So, I mean, he was that guy in that series. He was that dude. And I know he says that he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA, but I will say this, and you can relate to this, BRF. Remember when Lil Flip said that Scarface was the king of the South? Remember what he said? Yeah. He said, even if he don't want to be, to me, he is the king of the South. But I think that's just what's going to happen with Anthony Edwards. Although he doesn't want the title of the face of the league, he keeps playing like this, and especially if he wins the championship in a small market like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who is only, may I add, 35 years old. They're one of the youngest teams as far as the existence of their franchise. They're one of the youngest teams in the NBA as far as, like I said, the existence of their franchise. They were brought into existence in the early 90s, right along with the Orlando Magic. But for that to happen, not to mention under new ownership, under Alex Rodriguez, who has become a majority owner, that would be huge. And like I said, there's nothing that the NBA needs right now better than these small market teams to come into fruition and win themselves a championship. And I think that would, especially if he's able to win one this year with these type of performance, I think that is going to catapult him instantly. Because the NBA is already looking for its new face. It's fishing like we do on Saturday. It's fishing season down south. Everybody on the lake throwing their fishing rod. They're fishing for it. So only thing that they need is for him or either SGA to win that NBA title this year. And depending on who wins, that's who's going to catapult the NBA. But as far as my Lakers go, look, y'all got a lot of work to do. And look, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it before and I say it again. We lucked out because one franchise was not knowledgeable enough to understand what their franchise player meant to their franchise. And ironically, they even said that. Nico even said that. Mr. Nico Harris even said that. If I had known that the backlash from the fans and the media was going to be this scrutinizing and so polarizing, I probably wouldn't have made the trade. Now, I will say
lying.
You were kind of crazy in order not to think that a player of that magnitude was going to cause an uproar. And if you did not think about that, if you didn't think that, in the great words of Doc Holliday, you're no Daisy at all. But I digress. So, look, big ups to made it to the playoffs. We have a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball. We got to get that interior defense and the interior scoring right. We're going back to the days of the bigs being important again. These are the days where the bigs are important again. We're way past the small ball era. We had the small ball era. It was a brief period of time. Guess what? That's not how you win basketball games anymore. You got to have a big man. You got to have somebody who you can feed. You got to have a rim protector. You got to have somebody on them boards. And you can't necessarily – the game is going back to be playing it how the old heads would say it, including myself. I'm an old head too, the way it was supposed to be, from the inside out, not the outside in. So for y'all to address that situation, and it's time for y'all to put yourself in the best position possible in order to do so. And look, for God's sake, no more quick fixes. Stop trying to fix it quick. I understand that you have LeBron, you're trying to win, but now you have a young player in the form of Luka. You have a young player, not just a young player, a young cornerstone. This young man is a cornerstone.
26 years old. And you got some young pieces. And to your point, Champ, with the big men, sorry to interrupt you, with the centers, you know how you view the NBA centers? The same way you should view it as the NFL offensive linemen.
Yes.
As you always say, quarterback cannot throw behind his back.
Yes.
So that's how you should view the big men, because again, without a big man, without some interior, without some guy who can rebound for you and block shots, where are you going to get that?
Yeah. And the thing was, we've seen small ball before. We saw it. We saw small ball with the Houston Rockets. Remember what they used to call them back in the day? When they had Akeem Olajuwon, they call it small ball with a big problem in the middle, and that was Akeem Olajuwon. You need a big man nowadays in order to protect that rim, especially with the centers that you have now. You have Jokic. You can pretty much start and end it there because he's the best center in the NBA right about now. So you have to have someone in that paint in order to at least be competitive with him. So, hey, even if you have to have a big man by committee mode, which we've seen teams do. We saw the 2001 76ers do big man by committee. They had Dikembe Mutombo, Theo Ratliff, and Matt Geiger. So, yeah. So even if you have to do it by committee, you have to do something to address that. This is not a complete team in the Lakers. Everybody, look, I will say this. Us Laker fans are sort of like Dallas Cowboy fans. The minute we make a big trade, oh, yeah, championship. But even if we would have got past them, like I said, and I hate to say this with all of my being, but even if we would have got to the finals this year, I still don't think we could have beat the Celtics. Now, that's difficult for me to say because I hate the Celtics. But can't believe I said it on that.
Because you felt like the reason why you say that the Lakers couldn't beat the Celtics is because the Celtics outmatch you because they have a big and Porzingis when healthy, and you saw the type of impact he had last year in the finals before the injury, and then on top of that you got Horford, and then on top, but Chip, it's not just big men, your bench too.
Yes, I was getting to that as well. You need bench scoring. You need to make this Lakers, Los Angeles. You got to make a complete team. All these big names is not going to do us any good. The thing when we had Shaq and Kobe, when we had Anthony Davis and LeBron in the bubble, when we had Magic and Kareem, we had the role players and the people around them in order to complement them. You just can't put teams together. You have to understand what your team is, and your team has to have an identity. And I don't think this team had an identity this year. I still think they were working their way into chemistry, and there's no excuses because guess what? When you get into the game, you got to play the game how it's played. But there still was a lot of things that they was working into. They're trying to work Luka into the offense with two ball-dominant players and him and LeBron. There was a lot of work that has to be done. And look, I'm just going to say it. Look, LeBron, you're the greatest player, arguably, of all time. It's time to take a step back. And you have to let this be Luka's team now. Because sometimes people will say that, Luka was a little bit hesitant at times. And sometimes it's just like he looked a little hesitant at times. It was sometimes when you could see the hesitation. It wasn't the Dallas version of it. And it's just like, But LeBron, you got to take a step back and you got to let Luka run this offense. I mean, and we're not asking you to come off the bench, but we're asking you to take a step back and realize that the future is this young man. So
I'm glad you clarified it, champ, because when you said take a step back, I thought you were implying that LeBron should retire. But no, I'm glad you clarified that. But here's the thing, champ. How are you going to do that with Luka when he's not known for having the greatest condition in the world? Even though we still dumbfounded that the Dallas Mavericks traded him, the continuous problem with Luka has been his conditioning and the effort on the defensive court of the ball. Champ, I even said it myself. Hey, he making Luka being out of shape and overweight. He making you look skinny.
Yeah, and that's a bad thing when you are a professional athlete. If you're out here on the street, then that's one thing. But I mean, look, stay out. Like I said before, man, stay out of daiquiris and po' boys. I know the Grand Marnier slushy is real good. But I mean, look. If you want to win a championship, you got to be in maximum shape. You got to be in maximum shape. You got to be conditioned. And look, you have the capability to be one of the greatest of all time. One of the greatest to ever just set foot on the floor. Don't ruin that by eroding your reflexes and eroding yourself by not having the greatest condition. You are in LA now. You went from one big market to a bigger market. You're in LA. You need to get with LeBron, see who his trainer is. You need to go ahead and get on that treadmill. Like I did the other day, man. Did 12 miles this week. But you need to get on that treadmill, do some things like that, and go ahead and get your conditioning right. Because guess what? You're going to need it in these playoffs. Because guess what? Everybody's starting to talk about it a little bit more. You're not hearing it as loud you're not hearing it loudly like we're talking about it now. But people are slowly starting to say it. Okay, are they truly justified because it's conditioning? And they didn't want to get him that $300 million, or the jury's still up in the air on conventional wisdom. Granted, the easiest answer is the Mavericks made a mistake, but you can see how his conditioning affected him during the course of the game. He looked tired a little bit, so you gotta get that conditioning together. And who better to show you than LeBron? And like I said, you're in your prime year, 26 years old, so it shouldn't be no problem for you to do that. Especially for $300 million. I'd have went on a liquid diet. I'm just gonna be real with you. I wouldn't have eaten nothing but Jello for the next 3 years. So just gonna be with $300 million. That's what we gonna do. We eating Jello and chicken broth for the pregame and the postgame meal.
Well, you damn sure are saving Daiquiri and Po' Boys, Waffle House, Denny's, and all them other restaurants a hell of a lot of money by you going on that Jello or liquid cleanse.
Yeah, we're gonna do a liquid. We're gonna go on a liquid diet or something like that. $300 million. I'm going on a liquid diet, and I'm running 12 miles every day. So yeah, you got to get that conditioning right, Luka, because people are starting to chirp a little bit more now that you are on the Lakers. And look, in the city of angels, either you can fly high or you can burn out on the way to the top. Don't be that burnout on the way to the top, because there's been plenty of them in LA.
All right. Shout out to our guy Aiden. Shout out Aiden. Salute to everyone on the pod, and thank you again, Aiden. Congrats on 100 subscribers. Thank you. Appreciate it, Aiden. And but fellas, before we get on to the NFL, I gotta talk about Giannis and Tyrese Halliburton. Now, Shams Charania, after the incident between Giannis and Tyrese Halliburton's father, the Indiana Pacers, they've banned Tyrese Halliburton's father from attending any games, I think courtside, for the foreseeable future, champ.
Yes.
So my thing is this. It was a bad moment for Tyrese Halliburton's father and for the team. They just swept the Milwaukee Bucks. He should not have walked in to confront Giannis. I saw the video between Shaq and Chuck. Listen, I love Shaq, but I completely disagree with him on this one, and I'm on Chuck on this one. I don't know what Shaq is thinking. Look, Shaq is a 4-time NBA champion. I'm not saying I know more basketball than him, but on this scenario, I disagree with him. Tyrese Halliburton's father was wrong. If he wasn't wrong, then why did the Indiana Pacers decide to punish him? I think his father, whether intentionally or unintentionally, he stole a great moment from the Pacers. They swept this team. And that really shouldn't be the narrative. The narrative really should be for the Milwaukee Bucks now that they're swept. What's next? Giannis is probably out of here. I said it. I'll say it before. I'll say it again. Doc Rivers. He's gotten more opportunities than the Kardashians have gotten with men. He's dropped the ball. He hasn't been to a conference finals since that lockout season. He's blown multiple 3-1 leads. 3. 1 in Orlando, 2 with the Clippers. He had 3-2 leads in which he blew. Doc, I'm sorry, but it's time for a change. It's time for a change. I don't know who is the right type of coach, but he cannot be the head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks if you're trying to keep Giannis. You give a lot of credit to the Indiana Pacers. But this is going to be a long off season for Giannis. So if I'm Giannis, I probably look at elsewhere because I'm 30 years old. If I want to look for another championship, hey, you've done everything you've done for Milwaukee. You delivered them a championship. First time since 1971 with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've won 2 league MVPs. I've been a pillar of that community. I've been the face of that franchise. I've been considered the best basketball player. I've won a championship. So if he departs, Milwaukee will appreciate him because he delivered them the ultimate goal.
Yes.
But for Giannis, he needs to go elsewhere. As for Doc Rivers, damaged goods. Anybody want to go?
I'll set the tone. I don't blame Doc Rivers as much as I do the franchise itself. I don't blame Doc Rivers as much as I do the franchise. Number one, you fired Coach Budenholzer, who led you to a championship. That's number one. Forever, and the thing is, that's one incident you could point to where it just started the spiraling of the team. Because had you kept Coach Budenholzer in the first place, then you don't have to fire Adrian Griffin within the first 45 games. There is no Doc Rivers to speak of at this point. So them firing Coach Budenholzer after he had led you to a championship with one of the most, this was one of the few rosters that only had one top 75 player on that team. One. And that was Giannis. Not too many coaches can win with that type with team ball just like that. And he came from the San Antonio Spurs coaching tree.
Champ, the reason why I say it's time to move on from Doc Rivers, I understand you don't hold as much blame and you put it on the Bucks organization. I feel you. But at the same time with Doc Rivers, we've seen a pattern, as I've mentioned. And I feel like when you can't make the necessary adjustments, when we've seen this over a decade now, at some point in time, is it on him? I'm not saying that it's not on the Bucks organization because they're the ones who gave him the opportunity. They moved on from Adrian Griffin, and Adrian Griffin was doing a solid job as far as a win-loss record. But Doc Rivers, still in all-come playoffs.
Yeah.
He can't be absolved either.
No, the thing is, I'm not absolving him of that, by the way. I'm not absolving him, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. But the thing is, if you don't fire Coach Budenholzer in the first place, all of this doesn't happen.
True. That's fair.
So if you don't fire him in the first place, you don't have to fire a coach within the first 45 games and bring in Doc Rivers, who you know is for lack of a better term, the Lenny Wilkins of modern day NBA. He is a one-hit wonder. We saw it. In the great words of Mr. Craig, we synced it. So let's not pretend about the front office. This front office has been they drafted one of the greatest two-way players, one of the greatest two-way bigs that we're ever going to see. Two-time. And ironically, he was in the MVP conversation this year as well.
Yes,
he was a finalist.
Yeah, he was a finals in the MVP race this year as well. You know, so you have a great player. You won with Coach Budenholzer. Okay, he didn't get you as far as he did the year before. But guess what? When you have a coach that has won a championship, at that point he's proven he deserves the benefit of the doubt. When you win a championship, you deserve the benefit of the doubt. So if that doesn't happen with Coach Budenholzer, you don't have to bring in Coach Griffin. You don't have to fire Coach Griffin, and you don't have to end up with Doc Rivers and all of this dysfunction that's going on in that franchise. And we also have to worry about Damian Lillard's career, his Achilles. So he's not going to have a Robin to his Batman. So there's a lot of things that the Bucks have to address. Thankfully, Giannis's great years, his great young years, were not all a waste. He was able to win that championship. He was able to win one for the thumb. But through all the dysfunction that has happened in this franchise, especially with the coaching, you have cost Giannis at least one or two more championships that he could have had by just being a dysfunctional franchise, not knowing what you're doing. So, hey, look, now it's going to cost like heck for any team who wants to trade for Giannis. The cost of this, 5 first-round picks. Nothing more. I mean, you could throw in some more, but nothing less than 4 first-round picks is going to get Giannis off my roster. And I'm making that clear. If you think you're going to get over on me like the Lakers did the Dallas Mavericks, you're flat wrong. So I'm making it clear. One team that I would love to see make a run at him, and I think that it will be great, not only for the franchise, but for a player of that magnitude to come to the city. One franchise, Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks. They have the draft capital in order to get it. I think him and Trae Young would be good if they could get the coaching right down there. We just had the most improved player of the year on the Atlanta Hawks as well. So it's a solid roster. You just need that star power outside of Trae Young so everybody won't be keying in on him. But yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks as a whole is the blame. I don't place all the blame on Doc Rivers. I place the blame on the front office. Once coaches, and I don't understand why that doesn't happen these days. When coaches used to win championships, that's your right to make mistakes. Remember this. When the second year after Rudy Tomjanovich won a championship with the Houston Rockets, best team in the NBA, remember, his team was barely an 8th seed the next year before they traded for Clyde Drexler and got rid of Otis Thorpe. The very next year, his team was barely an 8th seed, and they had to do something that no other team could do, and that's go to the NBA Finals as a 6th seed. Now, granted, they had to make a trade, but they trusted the coach in order to do what he needed to do. And I think that's what's missing from the NBA. You can't develop players and a system with this revolving door of coaches. That's what's going on with Milwaukee right about now. That's why Giannis is disgruntled. You fired Coach Budenholzer, then a trickle-down effect happens. Now we at Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers is Doc Rivers. So, I mean, if the Bucks would have been smart about it, we don't even see Doc Rivers in this case. And like I said, the silver lining in a series of unfortunate events is that you got that one championship out of Giannis. But with this instability in the front office and the coaching, you may have cost yourself at least one or two more championships.
BRF.
I'm going to be analyzing his situation hard this offseason because, I mean, they're talking like rumor is Damian Lillard tearing his Achilles. Rumor is 2027. So just think about that. Rumor is 2027 as far as him coming back and being like fully healthy. It's 2027 because, you know, torn Achilles take a long time to get over. So he's looking at possibly a 2027 return. So that alone and just, you know, and I mean, Giannis isn't the only one that they're going to have to look at as far as like possibly bringing that back. I'm pretty sure, you know, Brook Lopez should be coming up. Bobby Porter should be coming up. I mean, like the Milwaukee Bucks there's a lot of questions with that roster, not just Giannis. That's why I think if I'm him, this is probably the prime. I'm with you, PSP. This is probably the prime opportunity for him to go and look elsewhere and just see, you know, see what's available out there. Yeah,
I might as well. I mean, I don't want to be there for a reclamation process. I want to put myself in the best position to win a championship. Therefore, put me somewhere else.
Yeah, because I mean, when you got drafted, you already went through that. You already went through the reclamation project when you got drafted. So completely understandable. You wouldn't want to go through that again. You went through the reclamation project. You brought, you know, and you got Chris Middleton to be the Robin to the Batman. And then like as they were really starting to win, you bring Brook Lopez in, you bring Drew Holiday in, you bring Bobby Portis in, and then this team as constructed, they go out, beat the Phoenix Suns, win an NBA title. Atlanta's definitely a team I'm watching for Giannis. Of course, you have to throw them in with every big named potential available superstar. The LA Lakers are definitely going to be in play for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're going to be in play. Yeah, they are. I promise you. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and Dalton Connect better clutch their pearls. Because if the opportunity comes correct, they will all get dealt in a heartbeat for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Don't think they won't. They will in a heartbeat.
My question to you is that enough?
That and draft cap it'll be that and draft capital.
But Champ, to your point, you've mentioned before, stop trying to make the short fix. You talked about it before. It's about drafting and developing players. And
Yes.
you've also said that LeBron needs to take a back seat. Well, LeBron is 40 years old.
Yeah.
Who knows if he's going to be around for? He's not going to be around forever. Probably has another year or two left, and then after that, that's it. You might as well just hand the keys to Luka, because again, you have your top commodity to be the successor of LeBron James. Would it be nice to have Luka and Giannis? But at the same time, it's more than just a star. You have to develop a culture. You have to develop the system. You have to get a right types of players. Yes, it's great to have a superstar or two, but you need other guys that you can develop and come in right away, help you off the bench. You need a big champ. If you actually had Mark Williams, had that trade had not been reneged, had Mark Williams passed his physical, you would have had a better chance of winning that series, because you need a big who can come in, rim protect, control the paint, block shots. I mean, look, even though people say about Anthony Davis's durability problems, this is what you miss. And again, you still got Luka, but again, you're going to miss AD. You're going to miss what he's going to provide you as far as the rim protection, the defense. Because how you going to, because without AD, what type of big man are you going to get? Unless if you get me like a Steven Adams or somebody like that. Now, if you gave me like a Steven Adams, if the Lakers had like a Steven Adams on their team, I would like it for the Lakers' chances.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking. That's why I'm looking at the Oh, go ahead, champ.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Oh, my bad. I don't think we have enough in order to get Giannis. That's why I said the Atlanta Hawks. And the thing is, look, the Lakers have to learn to
Let's not
build.
forget the Spurs. Spurs may have some draft capital.
I think the Spurs are gonna. I think the Spurs are gonna be in it for him too. That's why I brought them up in the last segment. I think they're gonna be in it for him.
But I don't think the Lakers have enough. And the thing is, I've been a Laker fan since Magic Johnson. I've been a Laker fan since when I saw Magic Johnson play in his last finals. There's always these rumors and innuendos about the Lakers, and half of them don't come true. I think this was the first premonition that really came true in Luka. You always hear about, it's kind of like that you always got that one friend who always talk about what he gonna do at the beginning of the year. And then you say, well, we're going to wait to March. And then March comes and it's like, hey, man, what happened to all the New Year's resolutions? And, it's nowhere to be found. So I don't really put a lot of stock into the Lakers trying to get Giannis. I'll believe it for the Lakers. Me being a Laker fan, I'll believe it when I see it. It's kind of like when you hear a lot of stories. The Lakers are equivalent to the Cowboys. Like I said, you hear a lot of rumors. You hear a lot of innuendo. But when it comes right down to doing something outside of probably of the Luka trade, they fail miserably. So I don't really buy it when they say, well, put the Lakers in play. I don't think we have enough in order to offer them in order to get Giannis off of it. And my thing is, hey, if you think about Austin Reeves and some of those guys, hell, if you want to throw LeBron James in there, go ahead and throw him on in there if they're willing to give him up for him. I mean, because the thing is, these guys are not going to be – LeBron is not going to be around forever. The injuries, I mean, apparently I think he hurt his leg in Game 5, and he had limped off the court. But hey, I don't think we have enough. I think the Hawks and I think definitely the Spurs should be in that conversation in order to get Giannis. Hopefully we don't see an instance where we see the Myles Garrett effect, where he say, okay, I want to be traded, and then they go out there and break the bank and get him a $400 million contract. But that's a possibility. But when it comes to the Lakers, I don't believe that to it happen. That's like I said, the Hawks and the Spurs.
Well, let's look at the Lakers. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say but the thing is, like, you got to think about it. Like, it's, even though Champ might not think, the Lakers don't have enough to get him, there's always that glitz and that glamour that just is they're gonna find a way in this conversation somehow, some way. Whether people think they have enough or not, they're going to find a way to get into this conversation. Whether they get them or not, we ain't worried about that. I just know how the Lakers operate. They're gonna find a way in this conversation. But I will say this before we move forward. This is the prime opportunity I feel the Atlanta Hawks have been looking for for a long time to finally pair another all-star, like a legit level all-star, with Trae Young. People rag on Trae Young relentlessly. This man is a constant 25 point, 10 assists, and has never had a second all-star go to the all-star game with him. This would be a prime opportunity for the Atlanta Hawks, for fans and the media to take them serious. The only thing I would hate, do you include Jalen Johnson in the trade? That would be the only thing I'm worried about, because I am a Jalen Johnson fan. But I feel like if you're going to get a Giannis, I think the late season surge, the way Zach Risache played late in the season, his defense, his ability to score and rebound and play make. If you're trying to get Giannis, I think the player Zach Risache made Jalen Johnson a little bit expendable if you want to go that route. But yeah, like I said, I think I feel like if there's a team that's primed and ready to do this and take a swing and possibly try to help a city kind of put themselves on the map and try to contend for a championship, I think this is the prime opportunity for the Atlanta Hawks to strike and get a Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Champ, I wanted to show you the graph right here. This is the Los Angeles Lakers 2024-2025 cap table, as you can see right here. Total cap 200, negative 60 million. So the first apron space, that's negative 10 million, and second apron space. So it's going to be hard for you to get somebody. It's really going to be hard for you to get somebody, man. But hopefully, with the draft, only time will tell. But the thing is, with the Lakers, they have to go by the old draft and develop process. Because if you're just trying to get players right away just to win a championship just quick, you're asking for a world of trouble. Takes a lot more.
Yes.
Fellas, let's talk about the NFL draft. We'll talk about Shedeur in just a second. Overall, which team, in your opinion, impressed you or unimpressed you in the draft? I think the Giants did excellent because you get in Abdul Carter, you get Cam Scatterboo. So now you add a running back to the offense. Now you add your defensive line. So it's going to be tough for Washington, Dallas, and Philadelphia because of that defensive line with Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. So that's really good. I love the fact that Tampa, and I was watching Champ on TikTok, Undisputed World Champ. Please go follow and like and subscribe to his podcast every Saturday nights, 9 p.m. He talked about one Desmond Watson, how he and Vita Vea, could they be the potential of ending the tush push? Now, Desmond Watson weighed in at 464 pounds at his Florida Pro Day. He's now down to 437. Probably needs to get down to at least 370, I think. But I did like what the Bucks did as far as getting another wide receiver, because obviously Chris Godwin with injuries. So you give Baker another target. And I got to be honest with you, Washington, I love what I saw from Washington. They got the offensive lineman from Oregon. They got another deep threat because, again, De'Ami Brown is gone. He's now in Jacksonville. I'm still concerned about the pass rush, though, but I think over time it will be fine. So I love what I've seen. And, of course, with UBRF, because you mentioned it last week on the pod, Atlanta, some of the moves.
I love what they did. I love what they did. I love people. And here's the thing. I've been seeing like a lot of mixed reviews about Atlanta's draft. I love Atlanta's draft. I feel like that is a minimum. That was a minimum B+ draft. Talking A. Like, to the crazy thing about it, the James Pierce deal, the trade that they made, they were going to take him at 15 because James Pierce came into the draft I think he was one of the top 3 pass rushers coming into the draft. I think he's the most pro ready defensive end coming in right now. I think he's the most pro ready. The Falcons were going to take him at 15. Jalen Walker drops to them. If I'm Terry Fontenot, I see Jalen Walker available. I have no choice. You have no choice but to take an athlete of Jalen Walker stature. And then the biggest thing that people are talking about with the Falcons is that trade. I kind of want to break down this trade as to why it's not as bad as people think it is. All the Falcons did was cash in the 2026 first rounder this year to get James Pierce Jr., who, like I said, I think is the most pro-ready defensive end coming out. Mm-hmm. So you cash in that pick this year to get James Pierce. Yes, you give up a second. You're giving up your second, but you want to know what you do. You get that third from the Rams. You turn it into arguably the best safety in the draft. A guy I'll put it to you like this. Xavier Watts was a 2-time first-team All-American safety. Very rarely do you see guys drafted in the 3rd round. People are saying, like, literally, we don't know if he has any weaknesses. Xavier Watts, he's always at the ball. He's running to the ball. He's a ball hawk. He's basically a carbon clone of Jesse Bates. So imagine 2 of them in the defensive secondary. Jesse Bates playing free safety, Xavier Watts playing strong safety, because I think Xavier Watts is more of a hitter than Jesse Bates. But Jesse Bates isn't scared to get physical. So imagine 2 of them in your defensive backfield. It's scary. And then Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma, out of OU, getting him in the 4th round, I think is an amazing value as well, because you get another safety, but you also get a freak athlete in Billy Bowman, who, if you want to put him in the nickel, in the slot, he's athletic enough, and he's got the footwork to do it. And the crazy thing about Atlanta, for me, is not necessarily just the draft. It's what they did in the undrafted pool. You go and get a Nick Nash out of San Jose State. And you arguably get the 2 best corners that weren't drafted. You go get Kobe Bryant out of Kansas, and then you go get Dante Manning out of Oregon, who's sub 4.3 in terms of his speed, and he's also a physical corner at that. So the Falcons as a whole, for the first time in a long, long time, for me, this draft is up there with like some of the greatest in the history of the franchise. Like going back to if I'm trying to think about some good Falcons draft classes, 2000. Well, okay. If you want to talk about the 2016 class, I mean, that 2016 class, you got to start out of Deion Jones, you got to start out of Keanu Neal. I mean, that was a heck of a draft class. Oh yeah, that's right. You got a starter in Austin Hooper too at tight end. So I mean, yes. some of the drafts that the Falcons have made, they've had some good drafts, but I feel like this is right up there because of just sheer value at each pick. Jalen Walker, who was a projected top 10 pick, falls to 15. James Pierce Jr., who I felt like is one of the 3 best defensive ends in the draft and the most pro-ready, falls to you at 26. And then Xavier Watts in the 3rd round, Billy Bowman in the 4th round, Jack Nelson in the 7th round was a top 250 player coming out of the draft. I think the Falcons, according to like PFF and like the analytics and all that stuff, had the best draft in terms of value. In terms of value at each pick. So I love what Atlanta did. I also love what the New England Patriots did as well. To go up to draft Will Campbell 4, but then to go and get Trevion Henderson out of The Ohio State University to pair with Ramondre Stevenson. You got a good backfield. You got a good backfield. Both of them do a lot of the same things. I think Ramondre Stevenson is probably a little more shifty of the 2. Trevion Henderson is going to be a little bit more the power back, but I like the dynamic there. And I really enjoyed what the New England Patriots did in the draft. I enjoyed what I like what the Philadelphia Eagles did in the draft. I mean, to get Jihad Campbell 31 is a crime. it's a crime in itself. And just like the Arizona Cardinals as well. Shout out to the homie Donnie. Shout out to Picking Spreads. I mean, yeah, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson. I mean, Arizona got some dogs in that draft. So, like I said, those would probably be my squads who I felt like really kind of took a step forward as far as improving themselves through the NFL draft. As far as like my picks, as far as who I like the most, it'd be Atlanta, it'd be Philly, it'd be New England, and it'd be Arizona.
I'll go New York Giants. I gotta give Bears. I gotta give them a lot of credit with the Bears. You gotta give credit to the Bears. As far as having the worst, Cleveland.
I actually like Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like them taking Dillon Gabriel. I didn't like the Dillon Gabriel pick at all. Why are you gonna take Dillon Gabriel and then follow it up with Shedeur Sanders? And Shedeur Sanders being the 5th round pick is the guy that they're talking about more as being the future starter of the franchise than Dillon Gabriel. I don't know.
But I didn't like but I felt like you had Travis Hunter there with the number 2 pick, but then you traded him to Jacksonville. Now, okay, you did end up getting the 5th pick. You ended up getting that, but I'm concerned with Cleveland. Maybe I'm just being biased because of their history. Y'all know this better than anybody. Remember how they traded and they gave y'all Julio Jones
on a silver platter?
Yeah, and the reason, and not only that, they had not one but two big drafts in that time. They had not only an opportunity with Julio Jones. Few years later, they trade Trent Richardson to the
Indianapolis Colts.
For a first and a 4th. You had another opportunity then in order to get better. So 2 big trades in almost 5 years, and you did nothing with them. So what are we doing? We're back to where we started. So that's the thing. I mean, I think that Shedeur is going to do good. The difference between the thing is, I think that Atlanta was more equipped to handle Julio Jones than the Cleveland Browns. Julio would have probably been out of there in a few years when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. They had no developmental system. They had no quarterback. It was just a mess. They wasted Joe Thomas's years. It was a mess. So it was wise for Atlanta to get Julio to go along with Roddy White and some of the other players. But I have to say this, as far as Cleveland is concerned, look, you got to do your homework on your quarterback because that's the only thing you're missing at this point. So whether it be Shedeur or Sanders, we all wanted to be Shedeur, but whether it's him or Dillon Gabriel, you got to do your homework and make sure that it comes out for the best. But the best draft came from Baltimore.
I like what they did too.
They drafted Malachi Starks, Georgia Bulldog. They drafted Mike Green, and although he has some character concerns, I will say he led the league in sacks at Marshall. Not only that, they got LaShante Wilder, I think that's what his name is, from Colorado, the wide receiver out of Colorado. So they was able to do a lot of big things in that draft. And they went and got the offensive tackle out of LSU. So they did a lot of great things to add to an already stifling defense. You added Malachi Starks to Kyle Hamilton to Marlon Humphrey and that stifling defense with Raekwon Smith, who's also a Georgia Bulldog. And you add Mike Green and Malachi Starks to a team with one of the best defensive tackles. Very, very underrated, if you want me to be honest with you, with Justin Medabupe and that front line. So you went and got one of the greatest pass rushers in college and one of the greatest safeties in college as well to pair with an already stifling defense. Then you go and get another wide receiver, whether he be a wide receiver 2 or 3 from Colorado, and you pair him with Zay. So with Zay and Mark Andrews. So I think they had one hell of a draft, man. That was one hell of a draft. Philadelphia, y'all can't keep getting away with this, man. Y'all keep talking about my Lakers. how we can't keep getting, y'all can't not keep getting
What if
away with
what if I told you about Howie Roseman?
because that guy is
What if I told you? What if I
yeah,
told you?
you told me, but good God. I'm like, man. And just when you thought, I'm like, they're not going to do this good this year, then here come Campbell. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Y'all can't keep getting away with this. But, hey, man, shout out to the Phillies.
Move from Texas. They got Ty Robinson from Nebraska, Mac McWilliams from Central Florida. So they're getting. But I gotta feel good about my Commanders, man. I'm not saying that we did outstanding, but I am pleased with what we did with the offensive line. So you added Sam Cosmi's coming back. We got the offensive lineman from Oregon. We already got Laramie Tunsil in a trade. So I love that. Then you add in a deep threat in the slot receiver from Virginia Tech. So you add another dimension to the offense, the deep threat. So we still have Debo there, and Debo is looking pretty good in the offseason. Looks like he's in pretty good shape. I gotta admit, I actually love what I'm seeing from the Commanders. Although I am upset that they couldn't get a pass rush, I gotta be very pleased with what I'm seeing. But BRF Atlanta, they did their part. They damn sure did their part. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, I love the Trey Amos from Ole Miss. I love the Trey Amos pick because you're talking about a physical corner with him. And in that division, we got to deal with physical wide receivers like AJ and CD and now Malik Neighbors. So we need that. So I'm not surprised at all. Howie Roseman does his thing. BRF, I've told you before, he's the best executive in football. Somehow, some way, he keeps making these types of moves, man.
Yeah, I don't think we need to. Yeah, I don't think we need to. I don't think we can state that any more than we've already stated it. I think he's proven that time and time again, and I just think he is definitely the in question best executive in the National Football League, and there's nothing else to say. There's nothing else to say. When you don't think he could top himself, he goes and gets Jahad Campbell at 31. So I mean, it's like that is like easily one of the better value picks of the entire first round, if not the best value pick of the entire first round. So we cannot question. If you question, I'll say this: if you still had any questions, even though you shouldn't, if you still had any question as far as Howie Roseman, as far as how he does his job as a GM, you shouldn't anyway. But it's like he keeps showing you why. He keeps showing you why there's levels to this. And Howie Roseman just continues to show why he is the best executive in the National Football League. He keeps doing it.
And also, shout out to our guy Broad Sports, because he made a compelling argument for Carolina. He didn't say they won or stole the draft, but you got to admit they did make some moves. They got the wide receiver McMillan. They also got in Jimmy Horn. They also got in Trevor Etienne. They got the pass rusher from Texas A&M, Nick Scorton.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it because now you're giving Bryce Young some more weapons to work with. And we saw Bryce Young late down in the stretch playing good football. The Indianapolis Colts, I did like the fact that they did get Tyler Warren. So Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. You have Tyler Warren with a Jonathan Taylor. You also got Adonis Mitchell. You got Alec Pierce. Anthony Richardson is in year 3 now. So if it doesn't work out, we said this before, guys. If he loses the job to Daniel Jones, and if Daniel Jones outperforms him, honestly, I don't know what to say. And Champ, you weren't that high on Anthony Richardson coming out of college, the same way with Will Levis. But Champ, I got to be honest with you, man. Washington, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Commanders fan. I am very pleased. Thank God we moved on from Daniel Snyder. Thank God, but that's a story for another day. But we're doing our part with these draft picks, man. A lot of these teams actually did pretty well, but what y'all think about Vegas? no surprise they took Ashton Genty. What are y'all thoughts about the Raiders overall?
BRF.
I mean, I do. I mean that the Ashton. I'll say this though. That was probably the least surprising pick of the entire first round, in my opinion, because of the Pete Carroll effect. You know, with Pete Carroll, he's going to run the ball. That is his MO, is to run the ball. And you get a guy in Ashton Genty who comes in and immediately basically could become the bell cow of your offense. So that was probably one of the least surprising picks of the first round. The fact, well, I mean, he as soon as we saw that he had fell to the Vegas pick, we was like, oh, I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, this done. This a lot. Vegas got him. Pete Carroll sees Ashton Genty basically with a bow wrapped around him. Oh yeah, come on, that was a given. That was a given. He comes in, immediately becomes a starting running back, in my opinion. And I think he's pretty much going to come in to about 18 to 22, 23 carries a game. I mean, he comes in and instantly becomes the focal point of that offense. So that was like the least surprising pick in the first round, as far as I'm concerned. I do like the direction that they are going in. I mean, I believe they did get some more help on that defensive line to kind of go with Max Crosby, which is definitely needed. So they had a goal was to go out and try to address need in the NFL, in the draft, and I think they done that. I think they did that. Will they win? That's a question for another day. But I do like that the Vegas Raiders are trying to put a good product on the field, and I feel like Pete Carroll, his veteran, him being a vet, him being, him winning the Super Bowl in Seattle, him being to 2 Super Bowls with the Seattle Seahawks. He brings that leadership. He's gonna bring a fire. He's a player's coach. He's a player's coach. Like he's like the dude is in his 70s and is still like, I don't know, like it's like that he still has that youthful exuberance about him to get players that want to play for him. So Vegas is going to be one of those teams that can come in, even if they don't make the playoffs. Like I say this with like a handful of teams every year, they're going to be. It wouldn't shock me if they beat some teams they have no business beating. They're like one of those handful of teams.
Well, Champ has made the argument that Kansas City's not going to be where they left off, and they haven't really done much in free agency, not much in the draft either. I did like the Chargers getting Trey Harris. So you add another playmaker for Justin Herbert. You add him with him and Ladd McConkey. So I do like that component. Champ, what are your thoughts about the Raiders?
They did good as far as the Pete Carroll effect. And I think they did this is one of their better drafts. I think they did pretty good, especially drafting Ashton Genty and getting not only just a good running back, but a cornerstone in that franchise along with Brock Bowers. So I think that will be a good. As far as the Chargers, don't forget about Omarion Hampton.
I know, no.
Yeah, but don't forget about Omarion Hampton. I think.
But the reason why I mentioned Trey Harris, Champ, because again, you want Justin Herbert throwing the football to Mike Williams, and again, I like Mike Williams from time to time, but his drops.
Yeah, but the thing is, that wasn't his main target anyway this year. His main target was Laddie. So, I mean, Ladd McConkey. So
Georgia product.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the thing is, he's a small receiver. He's not that big. He's like 5'10". I think, isn't he like 185 BRF?
It's something like that. 185, 190, he's somewhere in that range. He's not that big.
Yeah, he's not that big at all. So, yeah, his favorite target was Ladd McConkey this year. So, to get a solid number one to go along with a receiver, you can pretty much put anywhere like a Wes Welker 2.0 when you talk about Ladd McConkey. I know it's just his first year, but he has that potential. But yeah, I mean, I think that bringing in Omarion Hampton and taking a lot more pressure off of Justin Herbert with that running game is definitely going to help. Like I said, even with Alex Smith when he was developing Alex Smith when he first got to San Francisco, the cornerstone of that 49ers deep offense was that running game with Frank Gore.
But to your point, Champ, before, What was Jim Harbaugh known for doing for building first, as you always recommended?
The offensive line. Yeah. It's but they did that last year when they got Joe Alt, and Joe Alt has been doing a hell of a job.
But that's my point. But that's my point. Since they brought in Joe Alt, since they addressed the offensive line, now they can focus on the other needs they need to address on the offense or on the defense. And again, this is the best quarterback you've had since what, Andrew Luck, going back to your days at Stanford. And he's 27 years old at the prime of his career. So you got to do everything you can to protect him. Yes, all right, guys, let's talk about Shedeur. He fell all the way to the 5th round, but it gets even more exciting. Your own Atlanta Falcons, they got fined $350,000 total. The team, $250,000. The defensive coordinator, Jeff Aldrich, $100,000 because Jeff Aldrich's son was prank calling Shedeur. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. But Champ, BRF, what I'm seeing nowadays with these NFL executives and coaches, they ain't doing a good job raising their kids. Because you look at Woody Johnson, of all the things you allow your son to evaluate players based off of Madden ratings. And then now this. Don King once said it himself, only in America. I believe, look, Shedeur Sanders is still mind-boggling. He fell all the way in the 5th round. Now, I get it. Shedeur Sanders did not handle himself in interviews, reportedly, the way he should have. You know, Todd McShay's report of him, Brian Dabble was very furious with how the way Shedeur Sanders did not prepare during the interview. I mean, look, it looks bad for Shedeur Sanders because, again, this is the reason why you fell in the 5th round. I wouldn't have Shedeur falling all the way to the 5th round. I would have taken him in the 1st or the 2nd round. I even made the argument as well as Mel Kiper Jr. And for Mel Kiper Jr., if you watch him on draft day, boy, he was pissed with how the way Shedeur. Damn, Mel, tell me how you feel. I mean, heck, we need to bring you on the Sports PSP pod. Heck, we need to invite you to the cookout the way you came to Shedeur Sanders' defense, man. I mean, he literally lost it. But with the Atlanta Falcons, how did this kid was able to get Shedeur Sanders' number? And what are you thinking? What are you doing? Like, why would you put yourself in that type of embarrassing situation? Now, as a result, you find $350,000. And look, Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be interesting in that QB room in Cleveland because Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel. Who's the other quarterback that they have?
Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and
you talk, say his name, no nicknames.
No. I'm not. No, Deshaun Watson, that other guy. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting quarterback room.
Just what the hell is going on with these executives and their kids?
The kids are entitled. The kids are entitled, bro. They're entitled. That's what they're entitled. It's like they don't. I mean, and hey, let me tell you something. Before Champ go, like y'all, Champ heard that rant that I let off in that pod and grad in that chat. You heard that rant I let off. I mean, these kids are entitled, bro. It's like, come on. I mean, I'm not saying Jeff Ulbrich knew about it, but homeboy had the password to whatever it was to get his number. So you ain't gonna sit here and tell me Jeff Ulbrich, even though he might not have known he done that, you ain't gonna sit here and tell me he either he hadn't already given him the password or he just knew it. I don't know. Like I feel like the fine is justified. I don't think. I know some people saying they should have fired him. No. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, his dumb son acted on his own volition. He did that on his own. I mean, these kids need to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like you gotta know. You gotta tell them to back off. because once this story came out, boy, we say BTA, that's what it would have been. Because homeboy's son would have got the business that day. He'd have got the business. Like, bro, do you just realize I'm only getting paid $800,000 this year? I'm giving up 1/8 of my salary in fines because of your dumb ass. Like, what are you doing?
These are one of these types of situations. A parent needs to put a foot in their ass on their kids.
Oh man, I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick. First of all, let me put my face in this camera, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm freshly shaved. I just got a clean shave. My skin treatment looking good. I just want to look good in front of the camera today. But I'm just gonna say this right about now. Look, for everybody who said, well, what about the other guys who got credit called? We understand that. Their parents don't work for the NFL, people. I'm gonna say that again. Their parents do not work for the NFL. And for people who are saying, well, it's just a harmless prank. Imagine this. I want you to hold hands. Let me walk you through it. I speak the truth. Let me talk you through it. Imagine this. Imagine that you have interviewed with several companies, just everyday companies, and you're expecting a call from one of these companies, and they're wanting to pay you, let's say, $130,000. And some knucklehead, whether that be friend or foe, calls you acting like that they are that company, and you call that company back and email them the process, and they come to find out somebody pranked you. Wouldn't you be upset? And that's just if you're by yourself. Imagine if you had kids, or if you got that prank call and you put in your 2 weeks notice or something like that. Imagine how you would feel if somebody prank called you about a job that you really, really desired. And you're an everyday person, and it's let's say a $30,000 a year job. Wouldn't you be upset?
You'd be furious.
You be ready to whoop. You be ready to whoop on somebody. You be ready to come to blows. So stop pretending like it's not a big deal. And look, one more thing, and no offense to none of you guys on the panel, real quick, for what I'm about to say, let's stop calling this man a kid. You 21 years old. You 21 years old. You too darn old for crank call. You are 21 years old. What? And then the thing is, had you not taped it, you probably would have got away with it.
That's what I don't understand. Why would you?
I mean, that's
it seems
these
like to me the kid. It seems like the kid wanted clout. He just wanted clout.
It's just like these young kids these days. But look, stop filming and taping every darn thing before you get yourself caught up into something that you don't need to get caught up in. Taking this little device out right here is going to get some of you young men and young women in a lot of trouble if you're not careful. You just cost your father's company and your father an excess of a little bit over $250,000. And that's going to follow your father if he ends up getting fired at the end of the year with Atlanta, depending on how the team does. Because you can best believe they're looking at this as a reason to fire him. But guess what? We're going forward. So you can best believe he's on thin ice as it is. If that defense don't at least have top 15, he's out of there. So you putting your father between a rock and a hard place. You've cost the team money, and you done this, and you 21 years old. You know better than that. And the thing is, the fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't like Shedeur. I understand. But like I said, imagine if a job you're waiting on an everyday person like myself, like you, PSP. Imagine one of us waiting on a job, $130,000, maybe $200,000. You waiting on them to call, and some knucklehead want to be immature and crank calling. You would be furious. Mad. You would be mad as a hippo with a hernia. So stop pretending like you wouldn't be upset if this was any other everyday person. We understand that all the other players got crank calls. We, to my understanding, I've done some research. An Alabama student did crank called Isaiah Bond from Texas, University of Texas. So, but the thing is, these young men and young women their parents don't work for the NFL. My mother used to have one of these very, very important jobs before she retired. And you used to have to be very, very careful when you called her job about the stuff you would say on the phone, noise in the background when you were on the phone. So we had to turn the TV down when we called a job. Back then in the 90s, we didn't have a lot of cell phones. So you had to call the job after you walk home, let your parents know you made it in. So you had to be very, very careful. Their job is his father having that job with the Atlanta Falcons and the privacy that you have to protect is equivalent to someone working a parent working at the Pentagon. You have to be careful with that privacy as well. And if one kid gets in trouble, and if your kid gets in trouble for leaking information, that's a reflection back on you. Can you imagine if, one of your parents was, say, working at the medical field, you leaked out somebody's personal information? Can you imagine what would happen to you in the real world? Your parents probably would have got fired because you want to be immature. So stop saying it's innocent. It's just an innocent prank. No, you too damn old. You're 21 years old. When I was 21 years old, last thing I was thinking about was a damn crank call. I was focused on my career, trying to get better myself, not trying to rain on somebody else's parade and then filming it in the process. You young men gonna learn, and it's mostly you young men. I'm not gonna say anything about you young men are gonna learn one day, one of these good old days, that you taking this little idiot box out right here and filming everything ain't the move. It's not the move, especially when you do an immature jive just like that. It's uncalled for. What do you get from that? While you sit over there crank calling on somebody, maybe you ought to be in the gym just like Shedeur, trying to better yourself, getting out of your community and doing something. But instead, you just cost your dad and the company a little bit under $500,000 because you're immature. As a 20, you're doing crank calls at 21 years old. Let me say it again. You're doing prank calls at 21 years old. I'm glad I did not know you when I was 21 years old, because I would have had a roasting session out of this world had I caught you doing that. Because we know what you ain't doing, and we'll leave it at that.
What are you doing?
It's embarrassing. But the thing is, to BR's point, guys, people nowadays are too damn entitled. That's the problem. People are too damn entitled nowadays, and they feel like they can say and do whatever they want and no consequences. Clearly, he had a motive, and that was to get clout, and that was to shame on Shedeur Sanders, because Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round and find another reason to hate on him. And look what happened. You ended up costing the company $250,000. Meanwhile, your father $100,000, and he makes what, $800,000 a year?
Yeah, after taxes.
Taxes.
Yeah. In the great words of Dr. Lee from Drumline, in the process of making somebody else look bad, you made yourself look like a jack behind.
It was just humiliating. And hopefully he learns a lesson. But apparently, guys, this is something that's the problem with a lot of these young kids on social media. They just want to get their clout. They just want to get their 15 minutes of fame. And as a result, I'm glad it backfired for the kid. It was humiliating. As for Shedeur Sanders, look, did I like the fact that he fell all the way to the 5th round? No. I think the reason why he fell into the 5th round was because of his attitude, his personality, champ. As you always tell me, Everybody in the South saying everybody ain't lying. So if multiple people have said this thing about you, Shador, then there has to be some validity to it. Now, you can change all of that in Cleveland. Now, I don't believe Cleveland, as far as quarterbacks is concerned, because let's just be honest, when you look at quarterbacks in Cleveland, purgatory. But look, you fell all the way into the 5th round. You start your NFL career. There may be a possibility that you're going to start because Deshaun Watson is out for the rest of the season with the torn Achilles. We don't know about Dylan Gabriel. They just brought in Joe Flacco. I believe Joe Flacco will be the starter because of the experience. So hopefully your time in Cleveland, you make the most out of it by trying to build a rapport with your teammates, trying to develop. Do I think racism, because I've heard some people on social media say, well, racism was the issue? No. Cam Ward, last time I checked, was black. And he was the number 1 overall pick. So, no, I don't think racism played a role for Shador Sanders falling all the way to the 5th round. I still don't understand why New Orleans Saints would draft Tyler Show over Shador Sanders. And I still don't understand why Cleveland would take Dylan Gabriel, because you could have taken Shador early in the 2nd round, but instead you chose not to. So I wanted to add that one champ, because some people have brought up racism with Shador Sanders. No, I believe the fact that Shador Sanders pissed off a lot of executives and scouts during the interviews. I had no problem with him missing the combine, champ, because we've seen a lot of other quarterbacks done that. But what's just as important is those interviews, those meetings. And you said it yourself about humility. I'd rather be humble than to be humbled, because eventually this league will eat you. And Shador Sanders better be careful, because you don't think people want to get after you. After all, you are the son of Prime. After all, they see you how the way you styling and flossing. So you better be careful.
Yep. Like I said, this is a perfect opportunity. I think this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to Shador Sanders. Not just because you fail, but because you have somebody yipping at your heels in the form of Dylan Gabriel. He was a Heisman candidate. He was a Heisman candidate when he was at Oklahoma. So you're going to have somebody yipping at your heels. You're trying to change the culture at a place that hasn't had anything stable since stable for a long period of time. I'll say since Bernie Kosar. You're trying to get that done. And you're getting off to a good start. You know, you saw he visited the local gym, visited the youth, and talked to the youth about a lot of things. But you saw that. You saw it. So this is probably going to be the best thing that ever happens to Shador Sanders. I mean, you falling to the 5th round, a quarterback like Dylan Gabriel getting drafted over you, who's a hell of a lot shorter than Shador Sanders, by the way. You know, he's only like 5'10", 5'11". But this is going to put you into a situation, like I said last week, where you have to do certain stuff. Sometimes it's not that you don't want to do something, but when you're forced to do it, it has more validity to it. Now you're forced to do something. Now you're not guaranteed anything. Now, you know, you're probably going to be a little bit more gung-ho about staying out of the limelight outside of football. You're probably going to be more sure about, you know, you already heard him how he said you're not going to be, when you saw Shiloh ask him about making music, you already saw that he said he's not going to be making any more music anymore. The only thing he want to do is ball. So, like I said, this is probably the best thing that has ever happened to Shador, man. And I'm hoping that he is. And look, understand this, Mr. Sanders, you are not going to get a moment of grace. Everybody wants to see you fail. The majority wants to see you fail. And the last thing that you need to do is give them any opportunity to see you fail. The majority want to see you fail. A little bit of everybody. So your job right now is to go out there and make sure that you don't give them any reason. Like I said, you got off to a hell of a start by showing up to Cleveland, going to the gym, getting your workout in, running those hills, going to visit the youth, something that we haven't even seen the cornerstone of that, the cornerstone of that franchise in Deshaun Jackson and Deshaun Watson do, or any of the quarterbacks for that matter. So you're off to a good start. But I will say this. Everybody wants to see you fail. And you're not a first-round pick either. So if you mess up, if they give you the keys to the Corvette and you wreck it one time, they're going to be looking for a reason to get you out of there. Because they not only have a first-round pick in 2025 in this loaded draft class that's coming up with Archie Manning, Drew Allard, just to name a few. They also have 2 first-round picks in 2026. So you're not going to get a moment's worth of grace. You're going to have to go in there and do something. And sometimes when you're forced to do something, that's the greatest thing for you, because guess what? I don't have no other choice but to come in here and be my greatest, most disciplined self. And I don't have any problem with the bravado. I don't have any problem with the cockiness, the confidence. I love that. If you're real about it, guess what? You want a quarterback that feels like he could throw strawberry through a battleship. That's what you want in a quarterback. You need a quarterback that can feel that he can accurately throw a strawberry through a battleship. And I think that's what Shedeur Sanders can do for this franchise, while also changing the culture. He changed the culture at Jackson. He changed the culture at Colorado. But the thing is, these are not friendly waters. You are in shark-infested waters, and the sharks are looking for one drop of blood to tick off the feeding frenzy to eat you alive. You have to go out there with your head on the swivel, not just on the football field, but in the media, in the locker room, off the field. You can't be getting called. Don't let what happened to Johnny Manziel happen to you. Don't get so caught up in being a celebrity that you forget to be a football player. And I think that's what needed to happen in order for him to realize that. Am I for humbling anybody? Absolutely not. But can a lot of good things come out of being humble? Yes, it can. Like I said, you do not want to be a celebrity that's a quarterback. You want to be a quarterback that just so happens to be a celebrity. You see the difference. You see the difference. Tony Romo was a quarterback that just so happened to be a celebrity. Deshaun Watson is a celebrity that just so happened to be a quarterback. There's a huge difference. So make sure that you know you're not going to get a moment's worth of grace. The sharks are going to be on you and they're ready to eat you alive, every which way but left. Keep your head on the swivel, keep your head down, go out there and give it everything you got. You'll be on that field, and don't slip not one time.
Only good thing about it with him, champ, is that he was drafted in the 5th round. So there's not going to be expectations for him to play at a great all-time level. Just let him be the best version of Shedeur Sanders that he can be on and off the football field. I wish he could have done a better job as far as handling himself with the interviews, champ. If he had done that, he would have easily been a 1st or 2nd round pick, had not been for the reports about his attitude or personality. That's just my opinion. But I hope for Shedeur, and I hope Shedeur does well. But the father, the son, I swear, man, these young kids. I'm sorry, I keep saying kid, but 21. But yes, I understand he's grown man. But at the same time, champ, young people, they do a lot of dumb shit, and they don't know when to, and they don't realize what's going to happen to them. if they keep doing dumb shit.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, there's a great man down here in Columbus that raised me. He even gave me my name that you've seen before, my father. He told me this right there, like this. 30 seconds of foolishness. Just 30 seconds. 30 seconds of foolishness can cost you 30 years in the penitentiary. I'm going to say this again for you young men out here. 30 seconds of foolishness will cost you 30 years in the penitentiary. Whether that be emotional foolishness, whether that be exciting foolishness like what you see, or whether that be stupid foolishness like what you just saw. And the way some of you young men out here conduct yourself, as far as wanting to film everything and put the camera up and trying to get clout, you just gave the police and everybody else the evidence that they need in order to convict you. Because had that young man not filmed it, he probably wouldn't have got caught. But you filmed it, trying to get clout, trying to do this. And so you just caused your father and his organization a little bit under $500,000. So watch your step, because these days it's very, very hard to come back from mistakes. It's very, very hard. So young men, honestly, I'm going to say this one last time, and I want you to listen to my words, because I'm not criticizing you, because every young man, even when I was young, I did knucklehead things. I did knucklehead things too. Not to the extent that I knew I could get in trouble for, but yes, everybody has done knucklehead things. Everybody has had their moments. But when you're making emotional and crazy decisions, and decisions that can affect not only your family's pockets, but the people that your family works for pockets, that's a dumb decision. And people are going to remember that during the social media days, because they don't forget anything during the internet. The internet is undefeated. 5 things that are undefeated in this world: God, gravity, the internet, Father Time, and your feet on the ground. Those things are undefeated in this world. So guess what? Don't let one mistake cost you 30 years in the penitentiary. And always remember, not all prisons have bars. Read it to that what you will.
Not only that, champ, what he also ruined is an opportunity for himself. Because let's say if he wants to try to get an opportunity in the NFL, that video will always pop up. And they're going to ask themselves, can we trust him? How can we move on from him? Okay, he's 21. He was 21 years old. Yes, champ, you say he's a grown man. But, hey, a lot of young people do a lot of dumb, stupid stuff. Can we forgive and move on? So that's the thing he's going to have to address if he wants to have any job or association with the NFL whatsoever. I feel bad for the father, though, because you put your father in a horrible situation. You made him lose his money, and then you embarrassed the company that he works for. So, got to think. Got to be mindful.
I'm just thankful that my dad was not his dad. I'm just thankful that my father was not his father, because if that would have, because if I would have did something like that, my dad would have threw me out of a window. I mean, I'm just being real. You just cost me $100,000. My dad would have threw me out of a window. I'm just thankful that that wasn't me that did it, and I was 21. And I'm just being real.
Mm-hmm.
Apologize for the noise, fellas. I'm eating some checkers right now, some good checkers.
They have checkers up there?
Yeah, in Jersey, yes.
Oh wow! I thought that was a southern. A regional thing.
No. They got checkers.
Oh man. Okay.
They got checkers. Yeah. I mean, thank God. I mean, they got Five Guys. They got checkers. They got good food. Who can turn down good chicken and good burgers? Who's gonna turn down? But fellas, let's get into one of my favorite topics on the show: babyface and heel. Now, for those who may not know, babyface wrestling terminology means good guy. Heel's a bad guy. Tweener is someone in between. So I came up with a list of athletes or celebrities, and myself and the panel, we're going to decide whether they're babyface, heel, or tweener. Now, the first one, the truth, Paul Pierce. BRF, you go first.
He was a baby face when he played, but I definitely think he's a heel now. I mean, just some of the some of the thing that man has said, like whether it was like doing like the ESPN gig or what caused him to lose the ESPN gig. We're not going to talk about that video. We ain't going to talk about that video right now. But just like some of the things he's like said, like I guess if you want to call them hot takes, but yeah, he just I don't know. It's like some people just kind of go out their way for the clickbait and the rage bait and all that other stuff. Some of the things they say, and I feel like Paul Pierce. I mean, he's a smart dude. He is a basketball guy. I mean, we remember his career. He's one of the most underrated players we've ever seen in the NBA. I just feel like he tries too hard with some of his takes and some of his thoughts sometimes. And you just want to look at him and you just be like, dude, like some of the stuff you went through, like during your NBA, your playing career, some of the stuff you went through that you were still able to make a very profitable career. You got a championship in Boston. I mean, sometimes just,
I think the funny one was him trying to make the argument he better than D Wade.
We ain't even going to talk about that one. That is one we're not going to discuss. I heard he did that, and I heard he said that, and I was just like, bro, like what? Like no, like the top 3 shooting guards of all time are Mike, in my opinion, are Mike, Kobe, D Wade. That should be the only thing that's not up for discussion, in my opinion. And then everybody else, hey, pick them as you may. But I feel like Mike, Kobe, and D Wade are 3 greatest shooting guards of all time. So the fact that Paul Pierce would even say he's a better shooting guard than D Wade, the only thing Paul Pierce probably did better than D Wade at was shoot the 3 ball. But everything else, from defense to playmaking to the mid range to the athleticism, it was all Dwayne Wade. So the fact that he would even say that he was better than Dwayne Wade is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. So I'm gonna need Paul Pierce to not speak when it comes to who he thinks he's better than. You better than Antoine Walker. That's as good as it's gonna get. Just be quiet, do your thing, and just have fun talking. But some things just don't talk about. Like don't ever try to compare yourself to Dwayne Wade ever again. Just don't do it. Don't do it. You're one of the most underrated players to do it. You won a championship. You did your thing for a long time in Boston. Heck, I remember that series when he was with the Wizards playing the Hawks in the first round and gave us all type of fits. I mean, I couldn't stand Paul Pierce that series. He was killing us. Like I'm talking about clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot. Won Washington the game. Like I couldn't stand that man. So the fact that the Hawks got out that series with that win, I was happy because I was tired of seeing Paul Pierce. The dude is, when it comes to shot making in the clutch, he was as good as it got. But when it comes to talking about points in the clutch, you need to shut the hell up and just go about your business and just let it and just let it be. So he was a babyface when he played, but he's a heel when he opened his mouth. So right now he is there's no tweener area with him now. He is a heel because some things are better left unsaid. And Paul Pierce sometimes just needs to stop talking. He just needs to stop talking. But bad enough, you lost your job at ESPN the way you did. Sometimes just shut up, live your life, and just enjoy yourself. Because, bro, like, no, just stop. Look, you know the sport. We know you know the sport. You got a high basketball IQ. We know you know the sport. But just your hot takes, just no, just no. Paul Pierce is a heel, and it just. Yeah, I've done my talking about Paul Pierce. Sometimes he just need to be quiet. Sometimes, like we just gonna leave it at that.
Champ.
Oh, BRF man. I'll say tweener man because when you think about the heroics that he did on the court, it's epic. The wheelchair game. Not to mention Never mind. The wheelchair game, not to mention him being, the assault that happened on him at the club, and he was still able to come out of that and do his thing. Winning that Boston team a championship for the first time since 1986, almost 25 years without a title for the flagship franchise, taking them to a conference championship, basically putting that team on his back, him and Antoine Walker, being with that franchise doing for 10 years. I mean, a lot of great things on the court. Like BRF said, when you get off the court, though, it's okay to have an opinion.
Lord.
But in the great work, there's a famous cartoon that was out when we was kids by the late great Tex Avery. I don't know if the kids out there understand who Tex Avery was. He was one of the greatest cartoonists of all time. And he had a cartoon that said, every time I open my mouth, I put my foot in it. And that's exactly what happened with Paul Pierce at times. It's some of the most mind-boggling opinions that you could just ever have. As far as him saying he's better than Dwayne Wade, what basketball player is not going to say he's better? I mean, I'm just going to be real. If you ask anybody who the greatest podcaster was, who the greatest podcaster is, hey, they may say themselves, which I have no problem with that. You should be confident in your ability or in your own right. I understand. Plus, throughout your career, you only had there was only a small window in your career where you had that air specialty type player on your team with you, which he made a great point when he said that. But as far as doing what you did to lose your job at ESPN, you know what? I'm just gonna be real, man. That just goes back to what I said. See, the thing is, just because you get old, that doesn't mean you're gonna get wiser. Because there's a lot of such things as old fools out there, and Paul Pierce is an example of that. I mean, don't be an old fool. When you're a young fool, we understand, but when you're an old fool, it's insulting to the human race at a certain point. So, because you're supposed to know better than that, you're supposed to be wiser than that. You get in trouble at ESPN because of some foolishness that you did. To this day, I don't understand that. It's just like,
Yeah, but Champ, he didn't care because at the end of the day, where is he right now? He's in Fox Sports.
I understand that. But the thing is this. It could have been avoided in the first place.
I understand that, Champ.
You not caring is one thing, but you avoiding something is quite another. I don't care if there's a lot of things that I don't care if it happens, but I'm going to avoid it like the plague. I mean, I understand you already had millions. You probably made 200 and 300 millions of dollars in the league, and you knew already that you had your ticket stamped at another network just in case. But just because you have the power to do it, that doesn't mean you should do it. Young men are watching you, man. Young men are watching you and looking up to you. Don't be an old fool. It's all right to be a young fool. Don't be an old one. And keep doing the stuff that you was doing when you was 21 years old. Just because you get older and have a lot of money doesn't mean you get to go out here and be foolish like you was when you 21. It's foolishness. It's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Then some of these recent interviews that are coming out, I don't understand it. It's like, bro, sometimes it's okay to keep your mouth closed, man. You ain't got to always open your mouth speaking ghostwritten stuff out of your face. You ain't always got to have an opinion that's powerful. Sometimes it's best to say nothing. When they say you have the right to remain silent, they use that, they tell you that so you won't say nothing stupid. So sometimes it's best to remain silent and understand and read the room. The thing is with some of these commentators, and some of these sports personalities, some of these YouTubers, they're looking for you to say something. If you ever notice in this world, you don't ever get credit for saying nothing smart. Nowadays, you don't ever get credit for saying nothing smart. You always get the most attention for saying something stupid.
Essentially, Champ, essentially, what does that say about us if we're attracted to stupidity?
So, and that was my next point. So they're looking for you to say something stupid. Why do you constantly give them what they want? Rather than being smart about it, you're media trained. You know better than this. You've been around the league. You've been around the world. Some of the stuff you're saying is just making you look silly at this point. And I don't understand why, with all of the media training that you have, with some of the things that you went through, with you being a former NBA player, with you being a commentator, why do you constantly open your mouth and stick your foot in it like that? That's the thing that I don't understand. If you, in the great words of someone famous, you're going to wake up one day and find yourself in a bad situation because of your darn mouth. So it pays to close your mouth. Your mouth, the greatest weapon that God ever gave any human being was your mouth, because it can hurt you or it can do a lot of good things. Your greatest weapon ever on your body is your mouth, because it can burn buildings. Like they say down south, loose lips sink ships. I'll say it again, loose lips sink ships. So stop letting your lips being loose and stop sinking yourself, because you sound crazy. It gets ridiculous after a while, and you start to question. It's like, bro, did you take any media training class? Do you need to go back to Kansas and learn something? Because some of this stuff that you're saying is making yourself look silly, and you're making the young men, and you wonder why young men don't listen to the older crowd, because of people like that. That's just, it's sickening at a certain point.
Lost his job because all he wanted was a tip drill. A tip drill.
What the?
Next on the list, and I agree, heel. Skip Bayless.
Oh, that's a heel and a half right there. Skip Bayless is a heel. And I don't know. It's like Skip Bayless, like he goes out of his way to just tick people off with some of his takes. Like, I don't think he believes everything he says, but he knows if he says it, he'll get the attention that he needs to keep himself relevant. And then bam, that's views, that's clicks, that's money in his pocket. Like, he did one of those those debates, and I think it was like Michael Jordan is laughably better than LeBron James, and it's not even close. And he had like a bunch of kids that's ready to debate him. I hadn't seen it yet, but I mean, Skip Bayless is. It's like, I don't know. The thing I never liked about Skip Bayless, he was always very biased in his takes to like certain people, like with Tom Brady. I felt Skip Bayless is the reason that Undisputed is pretty much no more, because he basically called Shannon Sharpe jealous of Tom Brady, because Shannon Sharpe wanted to call out Tom Brady because Tom Brady wasn't playing up to par. And I mean, if no matter what your name is, no matter how good you've played in your career, if you're not playing up to par at a certain point, you should get criticized for it. I mean, this is sports media. This is what we do. We're not playing well, we're going to let you know. Ultimately, this is what we want to get paid to do down the line. This is like our craft that we are trying to hone for ourselves. But like, to call Shannon Sharpe, who's in my opinion, one of the 5 greatest tight ends to ever play the game, to call him jealous of Tom Brady was just about as low a blow as you can deliver to a peer like that, to say he's jealous of another player. Shannon Sharpe ain't got no reason to be jealous of anybody. So Skip doing that to Shannon Sharpe was just low. And then he's had so many bad takes. Like Johnny Manziel is gonna be bigger than Cleveland than LeBron James was, and Johnny Manziel couldn't even last a season. And I said it in the Throwdown on the Throwdown podcast. Shout out to Brandon from the block. I said it. If you watch Johnny Manziel's tape from college, you knew it wasn't going to translate to be a pro quarterback. You knew he wasn't going to translate to be a pro quarterback. I mean, could he play out of structure? Absolutely, but that's where he thrived in. Honestly, all of his big plays were out of structure. There was very little in the pocket. There was very little accuracy, anticipating throws, pocket presence. I mean, there was none of that. It was all just like him. Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M was like one of the biggest freestyle jobs you'll ever see. That's what it was. It was a freestyle job. And then when he got to the NFL, to Cleveland, and it was time to play with structure, he couldn't do it. So it was like, and I think the funniest was like the ungodly admiration and hero worship that he had for Tim Tebow. Like, bro, like, it's okay. It's not that deep. Tim Tebow was not a good quarterback. Yes, let me tell you something. When Tim Tebow hit the fourth quarter, he turned into Joe Montana. The way he would lead the Denver Broncos that year to some of those victories they got, and ultimately getting them to the division round, getting that wild card run against Pittsburgh. But just Skip Bayless just always had the ability to get you riled up on on any one of his takes. He just had the ability to do that. And because I feel like he's that ultimate guy that a lot of us that would love to debate if we got the chance, just to see if we could get the opportunity to shut him up. I honestly feel that way. It would be and then the story that came to light like a month or two ago with him and that incident, and y'all know what I'm talking about. There's like that didn't help his credibility at all. So that made him that made him even more of a heel in my eyes. So Skip Bayless to me is definitely a heel, just from the standpoint that whereas Paul Pierce really tried too hard with a lot of his hot takes, I feel like Skip Bayless knows exactly what he's doing with his. It's just that I don't know. A lot of his takes really have no leverage and no weight to bear and no leg to stand on. But all he's got to do is get you to debate him on it, and he's already won. So yeah, Skip Bayless for me is definitely another heel.
Unequivocally heel. I mean, let's just go back to his history. Remember the Troy Aikman situation, to which primetime Deion Sanders even had to call him out and confronted him on national television. We've talked about that, champ. The Damar Hamlin tweet, to which Shannon Sharpe didn't show up to work. And then when Shannon Sharpe the next day, while he's giving his monologue, Skip interrupt him. And I just felt like from that moment, Undisputed was over. And look, he had ESPN with Stephen A. Smith. Then he goes to Fox Sports, Undisputed. So we've seen a pattern of behavior. We really need to watch. There has to be a 30 for 30 or some type of documentary on Netflix about these sports media shows like First Take and Undisputed. Needs to be chronicled because of so many controversies. I mean, with Skip, Shannon, Joy. I mean, and but to me, Skip Bayless is no question about a heel. And I mean, look, just look at his history. Look at what he said about Dak Prescott. And this is at the time when Dak Prescott lost his brother. You know what happened during that time of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention when he made that state. I don't want to get too much on with Skip Bayless, but his history will always speak for itself, and I just say heel. I just say heel because again, even when he tries to give a ridiculous take, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel cool listening to him anymore. It's just like, I'd rather watch something else. I'd rather do something else than to listen to another bad take about LeBron or the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's plain. So let's just move on and let's just go to something else. Champ?
He's an unequivocal heel, man. And y'all basically said it. Skip Bayless is the guy that, in my humble opinion, invented the modern day hot take. He invented it. Yeah, he's just one of those guys that just got famous for inventing saying these outlandish things about players, about coaches. Then you add in the Shannon Sharp factor, now the incidents, and it's just like, as journalists, you have a responsibility in order to be authentic with your audience and tell them the truth, not just be a person that has a lot of hot takes, hot take is good because guess what? It makes sports more interesting. But when you buy into something so much to the point where that's your whole identity as a journalist and not telling the truth, not doing research, not perfecting your craft, it gets to the point where it's redundant at a certain point. And you talking bad and you saying a lot of hurtful things, not just to hurt yourself in your career, but other athletes and other people. When it comes to that act, you are a recidivist, a repeat offender. You are a recidivist, and a lot of the things that you said, I am surprised that people are even giving you opportunities anymore. And the best thing for you right now is to be on your own platform, because I'm not so sure even if I am a big network, even if I am an up and coming network, I'm not so certain I want you on my network and give you an opportunity. Because like I said, even back in the day with your days as a Cowboys beat writer, you were saying certain things about Troy Aikman that Deion Sanders himself literally got super up. You could tell in that interview with him and Pam Oliver how upset that Deion was at Skip Bayless for saying that. So, not to mention, all of this, I've never seen up until we've all seen players get criticized. Even the great Michael Jordan got criticized. And they used to do it in subtle ways. BRF, you're old enough to remember. Remember when they used to have the six-pack T-shirts?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the six-pack T-shirts? And what they used to do was the NBA or these little vendor companies would have these six-pack T-shirts, right? And it'd be like a carton of eggs, and it would say six-pack, and they would put the 6 greatest players from that team. To make fun of Michael Jordan, they put 6 Michael Jordans in there. But they said he was a ball hog. So there's always been athletes that were criticized, even in the most subtle ways. But for Skip Bayless from the jump to just show so much disrespect to LeBron, I'm like, bro, like, it's like I said, and I partially blame Skip to the way of how talking points are in the NBA right about now. Because we're not basing them on facts. We're not basing them on accomplishment. We're not basing them on team success. We're basing them on opinion and hot takes at this point. And I think Skip Bayless is partially to blame for that, because it's like, when you saw greatness, although they didn't have as many championships as another person, you acknowledged it and you moved on. And at a certain point, we wasn't afraid to acknowledge the fact that 2 people can occupy a space of greatness. We wasn't afraid to say that. The only reason why Michael Jordan, in my humble opinion, gets put in these GOAT conversations so much is during this era, he did not have to occupy a space of dominance with anybody. If you look back at NBA history, there was always somebody occupying the space of dominance with someone. You look in the 60s, it was Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. Look at the 80s. It was Magic and Bird. When you look at the 2000s, you can say three people really occupied that space if you really want me to be honest, because it was Shaq, Kobe, and Tim Duncan. They occupied their space of the greatness. From the 2010s on, it was Steph Curry and LeBron. So I don't understand why people get so caught up in this greatest of all time conversation. Because the thing is, two people can occupy a space of greatness at the same time. I just think that we put Jordan so much above everybody because he was fortunate enough not to have to occupy that space with someone. There was no one in the 90s bigger than he was. When you go through history and see in the NBA, there was always another person occupying a space of greatness. Michael Jordan didn't have that. So I think that's why people put him on so much of a pedestal. But for him to say some of the most craziest things and just be celebrating people's losses, that 2000, I've never seen someone so obsessed and so just to the point where it's just almost cringeworthy to see someone fail.
And no one was more obsessed than him when he saw LeBron fumble the bag in 2011 in that finals.
Yeah,
he wanted to talk about it because he knew he would love to make that argument just to say, see, he's not better than Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I've never seen someone that want to see somebody fail that much. The thing is this, and I'll end it on this note. We got to check the reason why we revere Michael Jordan so much is that we allowed him, although we criticized him for being a ball hog, we allowed him to grow up. And we allowed him to grow into his greatness. We understood that one man couldn't win it by himself. And when we finally got his chance, he persevered. And people can criticize LeBron all they want to. He had to take matters into his own hands. And that's the thing. They tell you that everywhere you go. You have to take your career into your own hands. And that's all LeBron did. He took his career into his own hands. He didn't wait on the general manager or a team owner in order to say, here you go. You see you see what waiting is getting Giannis right now, right? So yeah, we allowed Jordan to grow. We allowed, even when Kobe Bryant, even after the incident happened, we're gonna say the incident, we allowed him to learn from the mistake and grow into himself again. The reason why I think LeBron next to Wilt Chamberlain is the most criticized basketball player ever, because of guys just like Skip Bayless. They criticized him from the jump. From the jump, it was championship or bust. If you don't win 6 championships, don't win 5 MVPs, don't surpass Michael Jordan, then your career is a failure. And that talking point of GOAT conversation is another reason why I think that talking points in the NBA are down, just like the ratings are down, because that's all the people want to talk about, GOAT conversation. The minute that something comes up, we want to talk about GOAT conversation. Everybody ain't a GOAT. Don't deserve to be in those conversations. LeBron definitely does. But like I said, I don't think the media allowed him to grow up. And I attribute that totally to Skip Bayless and his talking points.
Well, and his ego. I mean, Champ, he had a lot of opportunities and he blew it. Like I said, Champ, he blew it because of ego tripping. It really needs to be documented. But I'm afraid Skip Bayless may not be the undisputed heel because there's one more. Jason Whitlock.
Next.
All right, let's move on. Your facial expression says it all.
Next. It will take me all day to tell you why that he is despised in the world of sports.
Well, we know, champ.
And the fact that I don't know, did you see that video I sent you about a couple weeks ago?
About what? I know it was
about the guy. I don't want to go into too many details. This is for the kids. About the guy calling him a token. Yeah. So there you have it. I'll say this. When someone inside your house says something about you, that's one thing. When somebody outside your house says something about you and it's right on the money, and it's right on the money with everything everybody inside the house has said about you, that pretty much tells the story of everything.
Sorry if I have to bring racial into this, champ. It's even gotten to a point white people are looking at him like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
The thing is, like I said, and that's what I was trying to avoid. Right.
You could say it. You could say it. I don't care.
The people outside of your house, that means within your community, are saying the same. And the thing is, the guy that said that about him is kind of like radical, to say the least.
Yeah.
He's kind of radical, to say the least. So for someone that radical to say something about you of that nature, they see right through the stuff that you're doing. I've always said this, man. Look, I'm a big dude and I love sports, but my worst fear, and this is why I watch everything that I say before I say it. PSP, you could attribute this. I run ideas through you before I even say it sometimes, because if I feel like something is a little bit too controversial, I run ideas. Hey, man, you think that's a good thing to say? I run it by people.
Yes,
because my worst fear, I run ideas by my father. I run ideas by a little bit of everybody before I put videos out that I feel is too controversial. Because I always say this, my worst fear in journalism, in my journalism career, I would rather fix computers for the rest of my life before I ever end up like Jason Whitlock. That is my worst fear, that has to be the worst fear of any journalist in this world. I don't care if you white, black, purple. That has to be your worst fear, to be put in any conversation with Jason Whitlock.
Well, he works for the Blaze. Glenn Beck's The Blaze. That should tell you all you need to know, champ. BRF, the conversation that we're having right now, Jason Whitlock, whether babyface, heel, or tweener.
Boy, you want to talk about a personification of the sunken place? It's Jason Whitlock. It's definitely Jason Whitlock. You want the sunken place, a personification of it? It's Jason Whitlock. That man has fallen so deep in the sunken place. I don't think we'll ever fish him back out at this point. And I hate to say it like that, but the crazy thing about Jason Whitlock, early in his career, I actually liked him. Like when he was doing the sports reporters, the Kansas City Star. When he was doing the sports reporters on ESPN, he made a lot of valid points. He didn't really go out his way to really offend anybody. I mean, he talked sensible sports, and he was actually one of my favorite personalities on the sports reporters. But it's almost like I don't know what it is with these people, man. It's like they get away. They try to play. You know how to do it with that. So the woke stuff. The woke stuff.
Mm-hmm.
ESPN is a certain way. They try to project a certain thing, but then it's like, bro, like, man. I mean, if there was ever, I'm like, we got to be like 3 for 3 on like heels, because Jason Whitlock is like one of the worst ones of all of them. Because, like I said,
he's the biggest one, literally and figuratively.
Oh gosh, me being a big man,
you are mean. You are so mean. You are mean.
Hey, me being Me being a bigger individual, I don't like talking about my fellow big bros like that. But I mean, you ain't wrong. But still, like, just him just coming out and all of the athletes that he's just dogged out, from Kobe to Venus and Serena to just so many of them that he's just took it upon himself to try to uncover like the dark side of things and try to make them look like they're not what they set out to be. And it's just like, what do you gain from some of the stuff you say? What do you gain from being just this absolute, I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, basically y'all touched on it.
Money and apparently tickets to the all you can eat buffet line, because that's what he's probably doing.
Well, I tell you what though, I mean, I'm trying not to laugh, but I
As
don't
I
know,
told
man.
BRF,
The Joy Taylor stuff just still kind of like, dude, like
that's the only thing Champ and Jason Whitlock agree on.
But at the same time though, shout out to the homie Cam Newton, because Cam Newton had to be real with this man when he said, Jason Whitlock, you are not that guy. You are not that guy. And that's one of those where it's like, you of all people, keep Joy Taylor's name out your mouth. We all know you didn't have a shot at her, so don't speak on it. Don't speak out on it like you did. Because if you did have a chance with Joy Taylor, shame on Joy Taylor for even giving you that little bit of leash. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. But yeah, Jason Whitlock is a heel. He is the personification of what the sunken place would look like. And I'm gonna just leave it at that.
I've said it multiple times. He is the sports male version of Candace Owens. He is the type of person that a lot of people, white Republicans and conservatives, they want to hear, because he is a black dude with a platform that says the type of stuff that they want to hear. And that because of that, it gravitates to them.
He's a free thinker.
Well, so is Kanye, but yeah, there's another story for another day. But as Roland Martin said it best, to quote the movie American Gangsters, simple Simon motherfuckers. And that's what Jason Whitlock is. I'm sorry. He's literally and figuratively, he's the biggest heel out there. And as soon BRF, I'm surprised you didn't see Champ's reaction, because as soon as I mentioned Jason Whitlock, he was like, next.
Oh, wait, hey, why you think I started laughing as soon as Jason Whitlock name came out your mouth? Because as soon as you said Jason Whitlock, I immediately thought sunken place.
Again, I have seen in my entire I have been a journalist, for a freelance journalist, I would say, and a content creator for like a little bit under like 5 years. I'm on my 5th year. It's like my 5th year. I started covering sports back during COVID. And I said that my worst fear in the world is to be put in any conversations with Jason Whitlock. That is my worst fear. That is why I do every damn thing I can to be fair, to be impartial, and to spit the facts. I don't bring all of that other stuff in there. Even when sometimes it's valid, I try to keep certain subjects out of it. But the thing is, this man right here, bro, it is you, like I said, when somebody outside of your house sees you for the fraud that you are, that is saying something. And the thing is, he tried to battle the young man back, but he really couldn't say anything because he told the truth. The young man told the truth about you. He said the very thing that all the athletes and all the journalists in the world, and let's not even forget how Stephen A. Smith got him together real fast on his pod. Let's not even took that. But
Champ, not just that. The only person to further validate just how much of a problem Jason Whitlock is. Only person that really came to Jason Whitlock's defense just so happens to be one Sage Steele. Remember Sage Steele, the former anchor on ESPN, who came to Jason Whitlock's defense?
Yep. Speaking of another personification of sunken place, she right there with him.
So yeah, but the thing is, you have to be fair, be impartial, and don't speak biasness. It's sad that the thing is, and people know that you're fraud because of the things that you said about Kobe before he passed away. Then when he passed, you spoke of him glowingly. We know you're a fraud.
Not just that. Oh Lord.
So
no. Hold on, Jim. Jason Whitlock, he views himself as a Christian. He talks about God and the Bible and all that other stuff. But you knocked Deion Sanders. Last time I checked, Deion Sanders is a man of faith. And of all people you bring on your show, Brett Favre, who last time I checked was accused of stealing welfare funds in the poor state of this country, Mississippi. And he even looked at you like, why are you being so hard on Prime?
sad. Tragic even. Tragic.
Champ, I don't think you need to worry about being Jason Whitlock. Trust me, that's the least of your concern. Jason Whitlock, as I've said it before, is the type of person that a lot of white Republicans and conservatives want to hear the nonsense and all that bullshit. Jason Whitlock is just, oh God. Let's move on because I can't believe let's move on from Jason Whitlock. All right. Favorite Miz moment. The two promos that he did. The coward. Remember when he unloaded on Daniel Bryan for calling him a coward?
Yeah, the talking smack.
And the other promo that he did in which he talked about how it was rough for him, being out of the locker room for like 6 months, all because he was eating chicken.
Yes.
And that was actually a true story. And believe it or not, it took every bit of The Undertaker in order for The Miz to come back into the locker room because The Undertaker is the team leader in the locker room.
Yes.
Miz, I love his mic skills, his promos, his braggy personality. So I love that about Miz. Whoever thought that a reality star, could actually make it to the WWE and have this type of career, man. So big ups to Miz because that's unheard of. Because like with a lot of wrestlers, they've had to pay their dues. They've had to be on other wrestling programs, other wrestling leagues. Miz was one of the few who made it with a little more experience. So I got to give the Miz a lot of love, man. Champ?
Who, what? He used to say that in the crowd, used to boo him out of that building.
Yes.
Well, one of his top moments got to be Marion Maurice. That's gotta be one of his top moments because she, no disrespect, Miz. I say this with all due respect. She is a baddie to say the least. So that's gotta be a top moment within itself. Hey, look, I actually remember his reality TV. I remember actually growing up seeing him on there, because my sister, she used to be a Real World fan. So I used to have to sit there and watch that through. So when he appeared on Tough Enough with the WWE, I was like, oh, that's the guy from the Real World. So I gotta say that was that to see him make it from that to be a mega star is nothing short of amazing. Like PSP said, remember what Vince told him that he wanted him to be to the WWE, right? He said he wanted him to be the Ryan Seacrest of the WWE.
WWE.
Yeah. So in a sense, he became that because guess what? You know, he wasn't an A-list movie star, but he looks like he can be. I mean, and ironically, he was able to be on a reality TV show, one of the top rated reality TV shows, you know, and have his own. So, I mean, that whole promo that he did when he impersonated The Rock, that was pure comedy when he came out there with the bald head and with the glasses on, and they thought he was The Rock for a few minutes until
They cheered him.
What about
before
the Cena? What about when he impersonated John Cena?
Oh man, when he impersonated John Cena, that was a good one. One thing that I don't think Miz gets credit for is, you know, him utilizing social media shows for wrestling. Because remember, him and Johnny Nitro, or John Morrison, whatever he goes by now, they used to have their own reality TV show on the internet, on YouTube, and they used to, you know, talk about other wrestlers and make fun of them. So you got to credit him for utilizing social media in its early days in order to get his exposure out there. One thing I am happy that he got rid of, I'm glad that he got rid of that damn that Tom Landry fedora that he used to wear to the ring. I'm so happy that he got rid of that because that looked tacky as hell. I'm just gonna be real. That looked tacky. That looked tacky. I mean, that little Tom and Jerry's fedora on looked like he finna go sing a bad jazz song in a juke joint. That was very horrible. So yeah. That that 6-minute match with that six, and I'll use that term loosely, with John Cena, that was regardless of what you may think of that match, although John Cena destroyed him, that actually helped him. It actually helped. Usually when you're buried like that, it destroys you, but it actually helped him because of all the build-up leading up to that. And he's an ultimate heel. He says some of the most simplest things, and it irritates you because it's coming out of his mouth. It's kind of like, you know, that person who you walk into the room and you just can't see him. You just can't. You hate to see their foot. You hate to hear their footsteps when they walk in the room. And you say, "Look at this blank walking," and you just can't stand it. That's how much the Miz made you hate it. So I have to say, him on reality TV shows, him on his reality TV show, having his own and starting, and him coming full circle, him winning the Intercontinental title, him overcoming everything. And like I said, no disrespect to the Miz. This is with all due respect, by the way. Him marrying Maurice because she is a baddie. I'm just gonna be real, man. I give you credit where credit is due on that one. You did your thing.
Before I go into it, got a little breaking news.
Yes, the Houston Rockets defeated the Golden State Warriors.
Yes, they did. They're going to Game 7. Fred VanVleet went for 29 in that win. So Houston Golden State going to Game 7. Whoever wins that Game 7, I believe they get the play the Minnesota Timberwolves in the semifinals. So shout out to Houston for getting that dub. That's a big win. That's a big win. But The Miz has to go down as one of the greatest heels in WWE history. I mean, from his beginnings, like, I ain't gonna lie, when Miz first started, yeah, like Champ said, he was doing the hoorah. I didn't think that man was gonna last a year because it was corny. Like, was he good? He wasn't good. He wasn't that good in the ring. And then he just Miz is the definition of a self-made man. And those are the ones you give mad respect to, because those are the ones that you think are just gonna fade away and just kind of, you know, they're gonna dim out. But Miz never dimmed out. He made himself a 2-time Grand Slam champion. Definitely gonna go into the WWE Hall of Fame. Like I said, he's a self-made man. My favorite one is probably, honestly, him cashing in the Money in the Bank on Randy Orton and winning the WWE Championship. because for me, that's the moment that really like that's where you're like, okay, yeah, we were starting to take you seriously, but they just put the big gold on you. So yeah, we gotta take you serious. We gotta take you serious. And his entrance at WrestleMania 27, well, his promo, his vignette before the match, he used where he used "Hate Me Now" by Nas for the promo. That was like the perfect song for that promo package. I mean, that was literally. I mean, it was the perfect song because it was like nobody thought Miz was going to make it. Nobody thought he was going to turn himself into something. And this man became the WWE champion and main event at WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta of all places. Because this was the Dome. This was Atlanta. This was WrestleMania 27. He main evented that WrestleMania with John Cena of all people. So I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment where he where he was to what he ultimately became. Yeah, the talk of smack promo is one of my favorite promos of all time. I mean, just Daniel Bryan calling him a coward for how he wrestled, and the Miz said, "I wrestle how I wrestle because I never get hurt. I am here all the time." And just like you could just see it. Like it was almost like it's kind of like one of those that it was almost like they kind of planned it out. Like I'm gonna say something, and then when I say something, I want you to let it go. And Miz, he is like one of the best at just speaking his mind. There was also another promo he cut. It was right after the first John Cena Roman Reigns match was announced at No Mercy. And Miz was kind of like they're all in the ring. Miz had his Miztourage at the time, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. And he cuts his promo where it's like you two are always around. You two are always getting every opportunity. Like when is it my moment? When is it my moment to shine? When do I get my opportunity? And the fans were just like going bonkers because he was just. I mean, you gotta give it to him, man. The man was spitting facts in that promo. So one thing the Miz is able, he's like one of the greatest mic workers at just being able to captivate you in what he's saying and make you believe it and just see that he is serious.
I love when he says really. When he says really.
Let me tell you, I never thought that would catch on either, but that definitely caught on. That. So, Miz is he's like I said, he's self-made, man. He's one of those I have nothing but the utmost respect for because where he started to where he is now, certified Hall of Famer. You can't that's one of those guys you just gotta give him a hand clap. You gotta respect that. So shout out to the Miz for just having a great career and he ain't done. We'll see what he got left in the tank. We'll see what he got left. But yeah, for me, it's the Money in the Bank cash in, and then the Talking Smack promo, and then that promo on Monday Night Raw where he just basically destroyed John Cena and Roman Reigns. So shout out to the Miz, boy. He's underrated and he's underappreciated.
I also love the time when Michael Cole, when he was in his heel days, how he praised the Miz so much. So it was annoying though, but it was annoying from time to time, but I didn't mind it though. I kind of liked it. All right, last one, guys. Let's try to keep it up. Favorite Nate Dogg track? Me and My Homies with Tupac. And also from his time with the Club 213 with him, Snoop, and Warren G. So also his verse on Lay Low. Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You want to go BRF?
Man, come on, man. I love me some Nate Dogg. I gotta hop on this. Honestly though, even though he had his songs, like Nate Dogg is like the GOAT when it comes to like just the features and him being on the track, like Area Codes with Ludacris. Like come on, man. Like
Fabulous.
that. Yes, yeah, Fabulous. Which one was it? Gosh, what was the name of that song?
I can't deny it.
I can't deny it. Yes, I can't deny it. I can't deny it. That's it. Yeah, that's a good one. Hell, the song you used for the promo, Nobody Does It Better. I love that song.
Yes.
I love that song. But look, the the OG song. You cannot talk about Nate Dogg without Warren G. You cannot talk about Nate Dogg without Regulate. Regulate is one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time. And it's just the way they flowed and the way they went back and forth, just like the perfect rap song. So, but yeah, my favorite Nate Dogg track, and it's not even a track. I mean, it's him and Warren G is Regulate, because it's like that's timeless. That song will never get old. That song will never not be a banger. So my favorite one is him and Warren G is Regulate. That song will never get old.
Be a champ.
Ironically, you know the intro of Regulate, right? The intro of Regulate. He regulates. Yeah, Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid, yeah.
Yeah, that's Billy the Kid. Regulate any still in here property. We're damn good too. I didn't figure out that until I got into the later parts of my life. I didn't realize that was Billy the Kid. Yeah, that was genius. That was genius how they did that, by the way. But hey man, Nate Dogg, man, look, him singing the hooks and things like that, he revolutionized things that people were doing now. He paved the way for that. Not only that, he had that gangster feel for you to be able to. I mean, he was so smooth, man. You knew when somebody got a Nate Dogg, when Nate Dogg was on somebody's track, it got instant credibility. It got instant credibility. Like Nate Dogg for to be on this hook. I gotta listen to it to see how he was gonna get on there. One of the more forgotten tracks that Nate Dogg did was on Snoop Dogg's first album, Ain't No Fun.
Ain't no fun.
Yeah, I'm trying. That was it's a very, very vulgar verse that he did, but I like that one. That one was cool. I mean, and it's even going viral on TikTok right now. You know, when the parents are showing their kids what song they used to listen to when they was teenagers. And it's like, y'all talk about us, but that's what we used to listen to. So where I want
the next episode.
Yeah, the next episode, or Where I Want to Be. Riding with my loved ones. So I Got Love. People forget about that. I Got Love. That one was great, man. Like you said, BRF Regulate. That's one of the greatest hip-hop songs of all time, man. I mean, and Nate Dogg sung that to a T. I mean, like I said, he had that. Nate Dogg reminds you, if you look, he reminds you of one of those guys who used to be in the speakeasy singing while everybody was getting their glass of whiskey at the bars. He reminds you of that guy. And he had that gangster smoothness in order to be able for people to distinguish it. Nobody in the world sounded like Nate Dogg, man. And the way he used to dress, the way his look was, he always looked so calm and smooth. And especially when he was on Doggy Fizzle with Snoop Dogg when he had his show on MTV. That one was very, very cool. So big shout out to Nate Dogg, man. All of the features and the R&B singers and rappers getting on features nowadays, they need to send Nate Dogg's estate a check every single chance they get, because he paved the way for that. And that's nothing short of amazing, man. But yeah, Where I Want to Be, I Got Love. Hey, nobody does it better. I mean, that one, I think that one was the best one that he did by himself. I mean, because the way that song comes in, you just know, oh man, that's Nate Dogg's song right there, man. Nate Dogg was something special, man. Gone too soon. I wish that we could have seen a little bit more. We saw some of the best hits. We saw some of the best things that you ever want to hear, but you knew when you put Nate Dogg on a feature, you knew everybody was gonna listen. So
absolutely.
And that was it. That in itself was it just brought you instant credibility. I mean, anytime you look down at a CD and you see Nate Dogg on there, it's just like, if I don't listen to anything, I'm gonna listen to this song to see what Nate Dogg had to say, and then I'll evaluate it from there. You can pretty much sell your entire album on having one song. I never forget on that on Exhibit's album when he had that song "Say My Name." That one was good. So Nate Dogg brought instant credibility to a lot of up and coming rappers. Not to mention, man, when he was on a feature, it was must hear, man, because of how smooth he was. That was the smoothest thing that you ever want to hear, man.
Well, fellas, that concludes the end of the Sports PSP podcast. BRF, any final words, and tell them where to follow you at, man.
As always, it's a pleasure to hop on here and cut it up and talk with you boys, man. I always have a blast. I always have so much fun doing this. At BRF Sports is the TikTok handle. Y'all follow that, please. I'm right at 2,300 followers right now, but you know what? Hey, it's still a beginning. We're still trying to get it out there. BRF Sports is the TikTok handle. Linktree is in the bio. You follow my IG, my Twitter /X, and my Facebook page as well. I also have a Discord. If you want to get in there, hop in, talking with me as well. You definitely can. Definitely. Yeah, because like I've been working a little bit, but I'm trying to get back into it. So expect me to get back pumping with the content, because I mean there's a lot of good stuff going on, whether it's the NBA playoffs or NFL draft, and whether stitching opinions or having my own. So I'm definitely gonna at some point expect a draft analysis video for the Falcons. I'm gonna go through all 5 picks and then talk about the undrafted free agents as well, with the big 3: Nick Nash, Kobe Bryant, and Dante Manning. So definitely expect that in the coming days, weeks. But yeah, man, just a topic not thought about is a topic not talked about. Yeah, man, y'all just show me the love, man. Show me the love. I appreciate the support. I appreciate being on here on the Sports PSP podcast. I appreciate having a platform to be able to do what I enjoy to do. And shout out to everybody in the Pod and Grind chat. You know who you are. We love you. We support all of y'all. And I'm just ready to keep this thing rolling. But like I said, man, it's always a pleasure to get on here and talk with 2 of my favorite people in this business. So shout out to both of you brothers.
Thank you, Undisputed World Champ.
Always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be on the Sports PSP podcast, man. Congratulations, PSP. You worked your tail off in order to earn every bit of it. And if there's any witness to your hard work, it has to be. I've seen it firsthand. I've been in the middle of a project at work and seen videos that you posted and that you're editing and stuff like that. And so if there's any witness, I've seen it up close and personal on how hard that you work on your show and the grind that it does, and how hard that you work, and the way you've done your research on a lot of topics. And hell, I'm just going to put it out there. Some videos, I run out of ideas and I'm writing stuff down. I'm brainstorming. Here comes Sports PSP. Hey, champ, have you seen this? So you're not only doing stuff for yourself, you're helping others like myself, like BRF, like many other people. So big ups to you, man. Not only are you a hell of a podcaster, hell of a man, hell of a friend, hell of a brother, but you're a hell of a talent scout as well, because you gave me my first shot, you gave BRF his, and you gave a hell of a lot of other people talking points so that they can start their own pod and they can expand as well. So you did a lot of great things, not just for yourself, but for a lot of people. For that, I salute you and thank you for everything, bro. Keep doing what you're doing. The road to 1 million is here. Sports PSP, for the time being, I will say. This is for the time being. He'll have 1 million soon. The 100K man, that's what we're going to call him, man. The 100K show. That's what it is for the time being.
And I'm going to enjoy it. As always, honor and a privilege working with y'all, man. Chap always said, once we met on TikTok, I always knew this is the type of brother I wanted to work with. I knew you were smart. I knew you were brilliant. I knew you had a lot of things to offer to the table. Yes, I understand. As much as I love and I appreciate the credit you give me, but at the same time, also give credit to yourself as well. You showed me your talent. You showed me what you were capable of. And of course, with that, I wanted to work with you, not to mention how great you are as a human being as well. And also BRF Sports as well, too. There are a lot of great other content creators who helped me along the way. So the best thing I can do is return the same favor by giving y'all the knowledge and expertise that I can give y'all. But I'm happy. Let's end the weekend off right. I know, guys, 2025 has been tough, but hey, May's here. A couple of days until Cinco de Mayo. If you're gonna drink, drink, but please drink responsibly. We want to make sure everyone is safe and secure. Hope everyone, the summer is almost here. So you might as well enjoy some time with the family. Go on vacation, go a nice barbecue or cookout. Do something with the family to enjoy because you never know. You never know. But fellas, on that note, we'll end the podcast. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Stay safe, and we is out. Peace.